1 second. I gotta fix one of the wrong microphone, so I might sound a little far away. I'll check to make sure it's actually working. That's the only one that's home electrified. Yep. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Casey and Makoto here. And let's see what we can get into. I don't know if I have anything in the notebook or not, but as you might hear, we don't have a sound filter on, and you might hear the server, but you don't hear it overwhelming everything, which is nice. Let me also make sure that the video is actually making out of this room. We've got our spaces running on the side. I didn't invite anybody to it yet, so I don't know if it's on the Bluetooth or not. And I also don't know if that's working correctly yet or not either. But it's not erroring, so that's a plus. So I need studio. I don't see studio. So we'll make a new one. Because why not? Is there a window I can recycle? I like to recycle my windows rather than make fresh ones. Not exactly. Wow. Not that. Oh, we can use this one because I've unplugged that device, so we don't need a window for it. Let's go to studio. So then we'll go to content. And then we'll go to live. Okay, there's us. And then we'll go to make sure that the chat is set up the way we want it, where everybody can chat. Yep. There we go. Details. And put it in our live streams bucket. Then we'll go to, we gotta save it first. We'll go back. It says we're live, and I see a picture, so that's a plus. Can we go straight from here to the studio? We cannot, because that would be too easy. So go back again, and then we'll go to the studio. And it's got a picture. So I'm going to unmute it for a second, and we should have double audio. Hey, the delay is very minimal today. Okay, so let's see. We've got Anders in the chat. Oh, good to see you, Anders. And good evening from Stockholm, Sweden. Yes, good evening and good to see you. So let's now check the notebook and see if I put anything in it. Then I'll show you what I was doing there to make that monster quiet. All right, so we're going to go to, I didn't bring enough props. I got some, but I have, because there's two of these servers, I have a whole other set of props because that one's not done yet, and I didn't bring it. And it's over there. And it's a pain to go get to. All right, so let's, real quick, let's add some folks in here. We'll do add speakers. And we'll add Slimy and Highlander and Robert. And then we'll hit send. And when they get here, we'll bump one or two of them up to moderator. All right, so then we need. Okay, let's go back. Oh, there's Slimy. All right, and so I am definitely not on Bluetooth. So let's invite her to co-host, and then I'm gonna leave the screen and come back, and that usually puts it back on the Bluetooth. I don't know why X does that. It says, hey, we noticed new audio, and would you like to use it? What's their name? Discord does it all the time. Too much on the PC. All right, Slimy, am I coming through like I'm on the big microphone now, or still on the tablet? Perfect. And you're coming in on the earphones. And they didn't put us on delay.
Oh, hallelujah.
Well, at least they haven't done it yet.
I don't want to deal with that situation ever again.
Yeah.
Delays are so terrible.
They are. Tell us.
Like we all just sit in here and talk.
Right. Tell us
Half the
what
time
time.
when those happen, we're like, he can't hear us anyway.
Right. Tell us what time they're doing the
For like
Starship
15
attempt
seconds.
today, please.
Well, I'm still watching Hamilton.
It's watching Hamilton. But have they announced the time or just today that they're gonna launch the launch? Try to launch.
Launch is scheduled for 6:30, but
Texas.
it's a 48% favorable weather.
Ooh. We've seen them launch in
So-
20, so
So it depends
yeah.
if
Did
the weather will work the
yeah?
best for the Starship launch tonight. But
Did they try yesterday?
let's actually check their route if they have any updates on that. Let's see.
Okay.
There's no harm in doing that.
No harm in checking that.
I've not.
Okay, so I will show you guys now how I made things quieter. So on the server that's doing all this right now, it's called.
Tune in before launch for a technical update on Starship.
That sounds nice.
They're doing a Spaces on it
I like it.
at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, Texas or Eastern?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Eastern is what it shows me.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to have my stuff ready. So, the server had this. Oops. It doesn't want to show. It's called a fan wall, and it holds 7 fans. You know what I can do? I can add a camera. The question is, can I remove a camera? Let's see. Not a guest. Not share screen. Add a camera.
You're gonna have to throw me co-host again because something happened while you were whatever happened.
Okay.
When I hit accept and it dropped me down to listener. I'm like,
wow.
What did I do?
All right, so this camera doesn't want to show it either. Well, here we go. You see this large apparatus of metal I'm holding? It holds 7 fans. I'm gonna put it on the floor because it's gonna fall and hurt somebody. So it held 7 of these Nidec Ultraflows. They're not even the loudest fans I have on servers here. These ones only go up to like 7,000 or 8,000 RPM. I've got a set just like this. They go up to 13,000 RPM. Just because. So that was too much because you see how little the fan blades are there. They're really short because most of that is the hub. And so not only do they go really fast, they don't sound very nice. And they're made for data centers. This is not a data center. So I replaced them with these Arctic SC8038 these ones also get up to 7,000. They have a much better tone. And apparently the camera's not afraid to show this one like it is the other ones. Maybe your computer has changed. We found ourselves on the network. Well, stop doing that. Anyway, so they have a better tone, and they get to 7,000 RPM, and they have a little bit more sculpted blades, and they were okay, especially if you put in a script to adjust the fans a little better. But then we had what was going on last week, where it was just a little bit warm in the room, and the computer got confused, and it would hunt for the right RPM to go so roo, 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 roo. And that's annoying, not just for me, but especially for you guys. And so I replaced them with, I 3D printed a wall for these little dudes. These 3 of these that only go on the bottom. It's a super micro 847 chassis. So it holds 36 drives. And then its counterpart holds 72 2.5 drives. That one's not on yet. The recycler did a little too good of a job on it, so I had to invent some stuff to bring that one back. And I think I put the power button in upside down because when I click power, it doesn't turn on, but when I plug it in, it lights up. We'll see. Anyway, so these just go on the bottom shelf, and the reason I was telling you what chassis it is because the 847 has on the large drives, it has 24 in the front, and then 12 way down in the back. And even in stock, they don't have any cooling for the drives in the back. And so that's what these guys do. They sit down low, and they just blow air from the bottom of the front of the case to the back. And then I've got some bigger ones of these that aren't as quiet. That's why you can still kind of hear it right now, because it's got a little bit of temperature. And they are the industrial versions of these. So they're all black with, I think they still have the brown rubber on the sides. Whereas the ones that look similar, the chromas, do not. They have like red or a set of colors, but not the brown. Anyway, so those ones, they still can get up there in sound. But even at full crank, it'll move the air, but it's not obnoxiously loud, and the tone is just on point compared to the blue one or the white one. And so hopefully it does the trick. So now let's open up the notebook and see if I actually put anything in it this week. If not, we will open some stuff up. Slimy might tell us some stuff, and then we will go and recycle some toys for the child. Not this child, but the other one. She got a good deal on a kitchen set yesterday. I got to put it together for her, but she found something else she wants. And so she's been, how do I say it? She's been buying and selling toys. She's been doing import-export on toys on Facebook Marketplace with her mom. And she got herself an EV. She got herself a little Princess Power Wheels that needs a battery. So next time I get paid, I'll have to go and either buy or build a battery for that thing. Then we can see how well she drives at 3. We'll see. I have 17 August. And we talked about the IF metal union situation at Tesla over in Sweden. And then we looked at a couple tweets from folks. So let's see if I have anything for this week. I did not. This week did not go according to schedule, but that's fine. So let's open up a new window. Are you asleep? It's okay, you can sleep, but your neck was looking not healthy. You want to lay back? Yeah, let's lay back. There you go. Is that more comfortable? All right, so we want to open a tab, which could be a bad idea. Let's open a new window. And let's try not to get distracted by what they have to show us. All right, let's try not to get distracted, but of course, stuff that we might want to see. The question is any of it related to what we want to talk about today? The answer is usually not. There is some stuff about Musk in there, but I haven't read it. And I don't want to get into any of the sloppiness around the topic it looks like. Wow. Uber driver caught on camera punching passenger, it says. Not sure how they get there. The local library is closed for flooding. I do find it interesting now they are getting local stuff in there. Interesting. Turnabout fair play for that one. I'll read that one after the show. It's purely politics. A local driver fleeing police kills somebody. Okay, so now we're going to go to, let's do inside EVs, just because. All right, and then we will slide this down, slide you guys up and over. Oh, I can see if there's new chats. I won't be able to see what the chats are, but I'll be able to see the chats. She's asleep. Okay, so now we're going to go to share screen. There. And we're going to share, not that, but we're going to share inside EVs. Yep. And then we have to bring it back and adjust it. How we want to adjust it. We're going to go to, I'm going to say hello to Michelle Jones out there in the listener land. And I'm going to go to. It puts me back as speaker rather than moderator. Let me try and bump her up again, and hopefully it doesn't. Okay, good. It says invite, so she can do it if she wants to. And then I like her Cybertruck background. That's nice. And I'm going to go to. I'm already sharing the screen. I'm going to move the screen. There we go. We got an interview with Rivian's RJ Scaringe. Why the R2 launch must go well. The R2 launch must go well because this is Rivian's Model 3 moment. And if they don't go well, they've got a problem. Survival of the company problem. Under 5 great choices, Rivian CEO on what's holding back EVs in the US. Let's see what he has to say. It's a car, not a phone. VW sued over touch buttons involved in fatal crashes. I mean, we did complain about them, but I didn't know anybody died because of it. Let's take a look. Toyota is using old EV batteries to power Mazda's car factory. Toyota is powering Mazda's factory. Sounds like a joint venture of some sort, but let's take a look and see what the heck is going on with that. And we do get to see this often with whenever there's a manufacturer of EVs, they'll go ahead and they'll put in used batteries as grid batteries to see a reduction in cost in providing that service. But the Toyota at Mazda is weird, so I want to see what's going on there. Where Rivian's CEO sees batteries going next. That's interesting to look at. This Tesla supercharger extension cable may look perfect, but it isn't ready for prime time, says the expert. And that is definitely Tom Malogny there, it looks like. Small on my screen. Why America's national parks still don't have enough EV chargers? Well, there was an executive order to rip them all out, so I'd start with that, and then I'd go from there. We didn't have enough before that, but I'd say it doesn't help afterwards to take more of them out. How does an electric hot hatch compare to an all-time great? Macan 4 SEV. Can Tesla's FSD perform well in parking garages? It depends on which one we're talking about, and it's not really made for multi-level. So looks like one of their TikTok articles, so we will see how that goes. And Rivian's R2 truck, could it happen? It doesn't take a huge amount of imagination, CEO says. I think that would be, because the Rivian R1 series is a pretty decent size for a pickup truck. But something Ford Maverick size would be awesome. And so hopefully they did make a frame that they could put a pickup truck on when they made the R2 and the R3. Because a little mini truck would be something this country has been asking for years and hasn't been able to get because of fuel economy standards. And not that the fuel economy standards say you can't do it, but lazy manufacturers, they say, oh, this is too hard. It takes a little bit of work. We're not going to do it. We're going to go for something more profitable and that we don't have to bother with emissions with. So that's what they do. Let's do one more scroll and then we'll add in another source. And I think that'll be enough stuff to discuss for the day, other than whatever you guys bring up as well. My best adult purchase. Maryland driver gets 25 Model 3, and then she shares why it's the perfect car for a girl. Okay. I think it's a good car for everybody. It definitely works. Woman says that it's because the $7,500 tax credit is going away. You should go negotiate now. I think that's worth looking into because we've got now 1 month left. And like I said on the Tesla Life show, do not wait if you're already in the market. Supply is drying up, and there will be no flexibility on this. So once it's gone unless we have let's call it taco. But this is something the man's never liked. So, and his group has never liked. So, I don't see them giving reprieve unless the dealerships get together and say, "Hey, we've got so many $1 million of cars that have already been produced because even though we didn't want to sell them, we had to buy them to sell them." Talking to traditional dealerships, obviously here. So now we've got all this inventory we can't get rid of because you made them all $10,000 cheaper overnight. I don't see them caring about even those folks. So there's a chance, but it's unlikely. And no matter who you pick Tesla, pick Chevy, pick Ford, whoever. Once the car's no longer on the ground, that means it has to be made and delivered. And depending on what factory we're talking about, delivery can take anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks. The car's got to then arrive from transport to the store, to the dealership, to the delivery center, and it's got to get prepped. They got to do a PDI, pre-delivery inspection, and if it is not sellable, they've got to repair it, which could take time. Or if it's really bad, they got to reorder it, and that takes time. They may be able to find some inventory somewhere else and trade something close or the exact same as what you asked for, but we're talking $10,000 roughly, $7,500. So don't play with that if that money's important to you to make your purchase. At a certain point, you're rather committed, and you don't want to have to tell your bank, or if you budgeted cash, you don't want to have to come up with another $7,500. It's not going to be a good day. So that's at the end of September if you are in the market for it. And like I said, generally end of September as well for anything that you want to put on or in your house, like heat pumps, induction stoves, heat pump, water heaters, anything that just qualifies in your state. There are exceptions if you want to put like solar panels on your house or batteries on your house, but they are so all over the place that it is best to just consider those to be September 30th as well. And then obviously if you're really into it and can't do September 30th because construction is hard, then dig into your local regulations and good luck. So Rivian says hands-off point-to-point driving is coming in late 2026. And with that, I don't know if there's going to be an article on it, but there was a tweet on it that they have ended their use of the Mobileye technology in their trucks. And this means that we're going to start to see Rivian's version of the FSD system. And like I said, when I went to go to the R1 pre-launch, one of the engineers told me that they were going to do the same thing that FSD was promised to do back then in the woods, off-road. I was impressed because FSD is going to do it based on being able to drive the human space and maps, right? What are they going to use in the woods? Obviously, they're going to have to use their cameras as well, but I still don't know how they expected that to work. But we'll see what they end up coming with. Okay. What hits the market? We've got, I hear Motico. Now, the Neo ES8 claims to be a luxury battery swap king for $43,000. I think they could probably do it. EV battery production is going ballistic, as it should, and it only makes sense. Even though the credits are gone, that does not mean that EVs have stopped. And not just EVs, but putting batteries in everything these days. So you're going to need batteries to put in them. The Rivian R4 and R5 will be lower cost siblings to the R2 and R3, CEO says. How much lower can you go than the R3? I thought the R3 was going to be like 36. I'd say that's a decent price for a new car in today's economy. I mean, I'm not saying that nobody wouldn't want a $20,000 car, but let's see what that is. It's a podcast. And we got it as a article. That other one too, just in case. These are all the EVs that come with power outlets and vehicle to load capability. That's pretty good to look at. All right, so now let's go look at Fred and see what they've got. Tesla offered many Cybertruck trade-ins above purchase price in apparent glitch. That'd be cool if they honored it. So the Model S, X, and Cybertruck are coming with the luxury package. So they're trying to tempt us into it. We're gonna see if we can't finally get our Cybertruck, eh? Still got the reservation hanging out there. At 28 grand off. Wow, $28,000 off. The Jeep Wagoneer S is the best EV deal going. Update? Question mark. We'll find out. A new 50-ton Sani Reach stacker brings Formula One tech to the job site. All right. And what EV charging at your apartment? Want EV charging at your apartment as an owner or renter? Click here. We've covered multifamily dwellings and charging a lot, so we will look and see what they've got going there. It's time to start recommending some Tesla Powerwall alternatives. Update. More like this, it says. Okay. Seems that neither Robert or Slimy was able to get the co-host thing working. Let me re-invite Robert because the invite my way, and re-invite Slimy because her invite.
I can't do co-host.
It won't let you.
Every single time I accept it, I get dropped to a listener every single time.
I got you. That might be what happened to Robert as well, because his went from canceled to re-invite as well. I don't know why it's doing this, but if you guys take a look.
Technical issues.
Probably, yeah. But I'd if you guys don't mind vetting people and let me know what you think, and then I can push the buttons, but I can't really. It's down here, so I don't really have my eyes on it. Oh, they have a poll. What are they asking us about? Deeply concerned and rushing to get a home solar setup before it expires. Aware, but not a big factor in my decision. There was a 30% credit for solar? Question mark. I had no idea. I have no opinion. I just want to see the results. Well, I already have solar. I do want battery. I do have a battery, but not one that qualifies. But I also don't have any money to do it. So let's click this one and see what happens. Let's click this one and see what happens. All right, 56 votes. Right, so not very many people were unaware of it. It's just they didn't do it for one reason or another. And some more people wanted to see the results. Right, so let's go back to the homepage. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. 12 Jam. Okay, that's on one of their sister sites. I was like, what does that have to do with EVs and green energy? When it comes to towing, not all 2026 Sierra EV pickups are created equal. That's not good. They used to all be created rather equal. The tow ratings for the 26 can swing from a towering 12.5 down to a so-so 8.5. The 8.5 is still more than the Model X, but it's not a good showing for a truck, especially when all the other trucks are 9 to 12.5. So the GM has rejiggered their Chevrolet and GMC EV pickups. So that is what's going on there. Jeep Wagoner we pulled up. EV charging will do. 5 ways I use my Chinese electric mini excavator that I didn't expect. Well, I mean, if you got one, why not use it? I'd probably get one of these if I can swing like a retired farm purchase for the family. That's what I'm going to try to do. Slate poaches key Tesla manufacturing leader to build up its electric truck. Good on them. The Genesis GV90 coach door system revealed in new patents. All right, let's see what they patented. It still doesn't tell us it's on the car, but they would be in a bad spot if they don't put it on at least one trim. Musk, the world's greatest app, 50% off right now. Score 1 year of 1Password for it's probably new customers only, but I like 1Password. What I might do next, though, is just bring it local, but we'll see what all I want running in the stack over there. Oh, the next thing I'm going to do is put up I've got cubicle walls. I've got one behind, right that I'm facing, right behind the microphone to kind of reduce any echo, but I've got one that was over on the computer shelf in the hallway that I can put back in between us and the computers and see what it does. But I need to move more stuff because while I did get the rack rotated, I did not get it moved. So it's not wasting a lot of space on the edge of the room here. U.S. EV sales stay strong, but looming tariffs threaten affordability. That they do. Labor Day sales from Anchor Solix, Jackery, Red Power bikes score massive $683 savings on the Lucky X1 Lite e-bike at $466 and more. I didn't know that Anchor was doing this format here with the wheels. I'll have to look and see if they're any good. Fort Polk goes green. 97 acres of solar to power U.S. Army housing. Don't tell leadership. Oh boy. I mean, they're doing the right thing, but all the ways that leadership has been doing anti-greenness. I need to find that article that was talking about the destruction of weather satellites and the other one about removing sensors on the climate satellites. I guess when you're like 90 years old and you're all about drill, baby, drill, who cares if there's clean air for your grandchildren, right? Hyundai and Kia to join forces with Korean EV battery giants to take on China. It's a really weird headline because Hyundai and Kia are already enjoying the dip since forever. I say since forever, forever in my lifetime anyway. Hang on a second. I am curious now. I'm gonna check something out. All right, let's see what happens here. Nice. Hyundai and Kia did start as separate companies, and South Korea later ended up under one umbrella. Kia came first, founded in 1944 as a bicycle and tube manufacturer, parts and tube manufacturer, moving into motorcycles, trucks, and cars by the 70s. Hyundai Motor Company was founded in 1967, growing fast with its own designs and exports. They competed head-to-head through the 70s and 90s, but then Asia's 90 financial crisis hit hard, and in 1998, Hyundai Motor Group acquired a controlling interest in Kia as part of the government-backed industry consolidation. Okay, so they haven't been together my whole life, just ever since I've been able to pay attention to business dealings. I've been able to pay attention long before that. Yeah, I know about the shared platforms and all that. That's why I was confused about the coming together statement in the headline. So I'm going to skip that just because the headline is stupid. Tesla integrates DeepSeek and Duobao as AIs inside cars in China. That one startled me for a second to see DeepSeek on the headline, but that makes sense in China that they would do it that way because China is special. Tesla's answer to the Cybertruck's failing sales: make it $15,000 more expensive. Again, like I said, it's a pretty good addition to have supercharging for life and internet connectivity for life, and then 4 years of maintenance and a couple other cool things to get with the luxury package. So, and FSD is included in that too. So it's not really $15,000 more expensive. It's only $7,500, $8,500, whatever they're charging this week for FSD. New Jeep Cherokee returns as a hybrid while EVs are put on the sidelines. Can't say that wasn't telegraphed to them, and not that they didn't want to do it to begin with. Another big EV car brand, another big car brand is testing solid-state EV batteries, just not in the way you'd expect. All right, so it's rechargeable. It's got the Lexus styling. We'll look into that. Solid-state has been a long time coming. Toyota's been promising it for 30 years. So, 30 years? At least 20 years. Please stop and confiscate incredibly dangerous 80-mile-per-hour electric bicycle. Stick to your speed limits on your e-bikes, folks, because the screen was trying to turn off, so I tapped it and I clicked on change something. It's not necessarily just them taking your bike. It could be so much worse. Turn just launched an Airstream e-bike, and it looks kind of perfect. Was that an Airstream Bambi behind it? Is it the Bambi, or is it it's their off-road small one? Pretty fun. All right, and that kind of goes hand in hand. You know, if you want to get from campsite to elsewhere, e-bike is a good way to do it. We'll take a look at that. It happened. The storm hit. The power's out. You have a home battery. Now what? Well, it depends on your car. Ford cracks Corvette ZR1 ring record with electric van. As much as they keep showing this thing off, it'd be nice for them to have a stock version of this to purchase. Pennsylvania Turnpike to add 80 new Apple Green DC fast chargers by 2027. Is Apple Green the one that won the contract in New Jersey for their turnpike? And have they started to put in more NACs? That's another question. The new BZ's SUV starts at under $35, and it's bringing some serious upgrades. Everything is an upgrade from the old BZ. Oh, so that might not have been a Lexus. It might have been the Toyota we were looking at, because this looks exactly the same. Kacey eliminates messy middle worries with Z-Quip battery swap tech. Solar and wind, up to 91% of new U.S. power generating capacity by the end of May. That's good. I mean, it's an easy decision. When you don't have to pay for fuel, and you just set your collection device out there and do your maintenance on it, I don't see the bean counters not liking that. DJI Mic 3 leaks fully ahead. I got the DJI Mic 2 and I love it. I got the original DJI Mic 2 and it's not bad. Tesla self-driving videos don't do anything. Give us the data. This is not useful. Are they talking about the creators, or are they talking about what Tesla shows us? Because that would be nice if Tesla did it, but you're asking too much of the creators. Yep, talking about Tesla. Let's discuss that too. I think that's enough to discuss. My tabs have gone quite full. Affordable Lincoln EV. There's a catch. All right. The problem with the endless scroll, right? Mercedes turning its biggest luxury rival as it struggles to sell EVs. I mean, your EVs are super expensive, and your customers are generally not aware of what's out there. Tesla's under NHTSA probe for not properly reporting crashes involving autopilot and FSD. We'll see what that's all about. And ChargePort's Omniport that can charge any EV is now available as a conversion kit for older stations. That's good to know, because these things are expensive, and if you can just charge points are expensive. If you can just upgrade the one you got instead of having to buy a whole new one from them, would be a nice touch. Oh wow! Tesla offers zero down on leases, $215 a month, and the ID4 is nearly half the cost of the Jetta with $129 a month on lease as well. And I think let's get to discussing the articles now. Researchers discovered that zinc-ion batteries thrive on fast charging. Really? I say that and I keep scrolling. Tesla may not get to sell energy in the UK because Brits hate Elon Musk so much. That would be not a good decision on their part. Because you're going to let your feelings for one man ruin your financial situation and your ecology. Don't do it. Okay, I said I must stop scrolling, and yet I keep scrolling. So let's. Oh yeah, this one was one that came up that I saw the tweet for. Musk says that the Tesla Model Y L may never come to the U.S., or it might be up to a year or end of next year before we see anything further on it. So we'll see what happens there. And that is a perfect opportunity to move on to the next thing. Let's go to... It's interesting the order these things opened in. They didn't open... normally they go underneath as I open them, unless I've gone to a new tab first, which I did not do. So they should all be underneath, but they're not. So let's go over here. These are all the EVs that come with power outlets and vehicle to load capability. Let's see. Really, the Acura ZDX, and the Honda Prologue. They're based on the Chevy Equinox. Yeah, they are. Oh, you see why it's not just a vehicle to load as far as like external to the vehicle, as if they have 120 outlets inside. So that's probably where they come from. They got a single outlet, most likely. Cadillac Escalade IQ, same platform. Cadillac Lyric, yep. Cadillac Vistec, yep. The Chevrolet Bright Drop 400 and 600, they do have a little bit of vehicle to load capability to them, and you can get a power takeoff as well to make something even more beefy than what they come with. But they come with two 110 volt outlets for combined output of 400 watts from the factory. And like I said, the EP power takeoff EPTO is even beefier than that. Silverado EV, yep. We know that most of the pickup trucks have something nice. The Ford Lightning. The Ford E-Transit is one that often gets forgotten. It's got a 2.4 kilowatts through a pair of outlets in the back of the cargo area. The Hummer EV. It makes sense. It's a GM truck, but it's not one you ever really think of. GM Sierra EV, of course. The Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis EVs, they have their vehicle to load as well, and the load is 110 outlet through the charge port. I'm curious how it works on the NACS equipped vehicles now. Not that NACS can't do it. I'm just curious how they do. Your balloon. Hi. My balloon ran away from me. Your balloon ran away from you? Yeah. Okay, be careful. The Porsche Macan Electric. Daddy, can move that one? Can you move? Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Your work is just up from her nap. Oh, thank you. A nice sandwich. She was napping, and now she heard her sister, so she's awake now. You want to play with mommy? I said, "You want to play with mommy?" You kicked Mickey in the pants. She's had her Mickey Mouse doll here the whole time. Do you want to go sit with mommy, or you want to stay here? She's like, "Do I want to go in there or not?" Are you getting up? Okay, she's getting up. You go with mommy? Here you go.
Hello to you to me. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so the R1 and the R1 series makes sense. The Porsche, I didn't expect. It's probably got an internal. Yes, it does. Charge your laptop situation. It's got a 110 volt, 150 watt outlet in the trunk. Motoko, excuse me. The room is not set up that she could reach the chair right now, so she is letting us know her displeasure by holding her own show. Okay. R1 series, yes, we knew that. Cybertruck, absolutely, because it's got power share to power the whole house, just like the Fords and Chevys can do with their setups. There we go. A comment about the Lyric, unless you have the 19.2 kilowatt inverter option. Wait a minute, they have an inverter that does the full max spec? You can't use the vehicle to load adapter that GM has. I don't know if the same limitation applies to the vehicle to home usage, but I wanted to mention it. Thank you, T18C97. This guy's got his whole email address there. That's a choice. Any current GM EV with the 19.2 kilowatt charging can use the GM vehicle to load adapter. Any current GM EV can be used for power backup for a home. I don't know about that. The first one makes sense. Unless that was, the second one is after the first one. GM kit does this. That does this use the DC fast charge interface. Oh, okay. So then, yeah, any GM could do it. Interesting. And also curious if they have a NACS interface now. Because they've got NACS vehicles coming out. Egg and bacon and cheese. Not bad. Looks like she used our new. I finally found a toaster that claims to have a sensor. We'll see. The reason I'm obsessed with a toaster with a sensor is if you've seen Alex's Technology Connection video of the Sunbeam automatic toaster from the 50s. In this year of 2025, we shouldn't have to look back, over 50 years to find a good toaster. 60, 70 years almost, yeah. Okay. Article specific to EV battery to load. Any current GM EV with a 19.2 kilowatt charger supports the GM vehicle to load adapter. For vehicle to home as a backup power source, GM offers a system that allows all current GM EVs to operate in this mode. I wonder if that'd be cool as heck to just run your house off of Bolt. There's nothing that stops the Bolt from doing this aside from software. But they say current, so it might be only cars that they sell, not cars that they sold. Curious now. Go ahead, start.
Yeah, it sounds to me that people are really interested in this whole power sharing sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned last time I was here,
You did.
it's a really big component of like owning a giant ass battery to
Exactly.
plug into your house and keep your frozen food frozen,
Exactly.
hot food hot.
Yeah, like for a little bit of time, no big deal. But I think the trucks will be the best if you want. Like we talked about, how some of them can go for like 7 days or more with the average load. But if you can get just through like 2 or 3 days with some of the smaller battery vehicles, that's, I mean, why not? Because if you're still home and haven't,
even 8 hours, like
yeah, exactly,
even an 8 hour power outage has the risk of spoiling your food. So
exactly,
yeah,
Yeah.
people are really keen to this.
yeah. Because if you've chosen not to evacuate, then that means where are you gonna go? Because everywhere else has no power. Why not use it at home and then keep it to, like, you say, hey, I need this much to leave my zone, to the next, state, power zone, whatever. Uh, don't go below this. That seems to be a
Well,
pretty.
I mean, even
Hmm?
not even just evacuation, but like you live in Illinois or anywhere where there's storms.
Yeah.
You're talking twice or thrice a year where you've got an 8 hour power outage, and
At least.
like, do you buy a generator or just like, oh, my car happens to have the ability so that my food doesn't spoil?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that would be another selling point these folks can use, especially after September 30th. Like, hey, we know this thing costs more, but we put a discount on the connector to your house. And how about your food doesn't go bad? How about the air conditioner and heater keep working in the middle of the winter? I know that the heater is a little easier to do on some homes, but most of the modern ones it's not. So, like, I used to be able to run the heater here off of the 110 connection, but it was gas, and now it's not gas. So if we lose power, we lose heat as well as cold. But, we could fix that, but I don't know if this one can start on the batteries I have, and I already know how many kilowatts it is, so I know how quickly it would drain the battery stack that I have. I've got. Hang on. I see what happened there. Too many dots. I've got 19.8 plugged in straight to the house. 19.8 kilowatt hours. And I've got another 4 or so right here in the room running the servers.
What I think, oh, and by the way, you sound pretty good today. Like,
Thanks.
more excellent than last time.
Yes, I was.
No bee keeping.
Yeah, I spent the evening removing the fan wall, from the server, and then replacing it with. It came with 780 millimeter, 7,000 7,000 RPM fans, and I replaced them with 3 Noctua 140 3,000 industrial fans, and then a set of 3
Nice.
Noctua 80, the NF88. These ones are ULNs, but I did the PWMs for that, just down in the drive bay, because the stock fans even didn't pay any attention to the rear lower drive bays. How do they get cool? Luck. And they say, oh no, some drives just burn out. Well, I don't have a budget for drives just to replacing them willy nilly, so I like to get some air in there.
Well, I'm glad to hear you went with Noctua too. I mean, they're industry standard excellent. So
Yeah, I like them a lot. These Arctics that I had before were okay. They were better than the Deltas that it came with, just in terms of tone. But they still, you heard them. Like, so they were a B. It was like bzz, bzz, bzz.
but yeah, I wonder if vehicles are going to help America get more comfortable with 240 or 220, whatever you want to call it?
I think so.
I mean, because all houses have 220, but
Yeah.
it's just, for your dryer and your electric stove, and sometimes tankless water heater. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes.
But like, as far as you know, like you go to England, everybody has an electric kettle, and
Yeah.
it's like a tankless water heater. It pours hot water immediately. America doesn't have that because we only have 110 on our countertops.
Yeah, our kettles take a little bit
It's
longer
ridiculous
to do.
that our space heaters cause more fires because they're 110
Yeah.
in America, because they get the outlet hot, and then the wiring in the walls are very warm.
Yeah.
But you don't have that problem with 220, 240 because it's half the current
Yeah. The amps. Yeah. So,
at the current load.
so they don't build them
But
as
you
cheap
even
as
get
you
better
do over there, or the
cheap. Oh, I mean, it's
space
just
heaters.
the higher voltage allows you to have
It's less
more,
stress. Yeah, because there's less amps going through it.
more wattage.
Yeah.
And
And
so
more
you can
watts,
actually
too.
do a hotter space heater and a hotter water kettle on your countertop.
Mhm. I'll have to look at. I never did pay attention to what they were doing for room heating over there. I think it having it available because I think the only place in the world really we don't have something approaching 220 to 240 or 208 if you break down three phase is Japan. They've got 200, but still that's still better than the 100 that they like to use out of the outlet, like the ones that look like ours.
Yeah,
without the ground.
close enough.
Yeah.
Like I'll definitely, when I remodel my kitchen and living room, I'm going to drop some British outlets on my kitchen countertop, and then I can just buy British appliances, and I'll bring some 10x3 Romex to the living room so I can run 220 space heater, or even just a 110 space heater on 30 amps without like the wires getting warm.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had to replace, outlets because
Oh,
they
yes.
burn out after a few years of using a space heater.
My
It's
volt
nonsense.
my volt would kill the outlets. So it's about 4. And not all the same one, obviously, because I wouldn't keep buying the same garbage. I'd get the good ones, but in the different places I've used the 2 volts. Between the current draw and just the fact that it's outside and hot and they were constant load, it would kill outlets. One killed the charger, sorry, the EVSE. That one was recalled because whatever plastic they used in the plug was not good enough. But I think what I think we'll see with this is just like we saw with like USB-C starting to get everywhere. We'll see more folks cognizant of what you can do with electricity and start to ask for more capabilities. Like this.
Yeah,
the
that's
server
what I'm
stack.
hoping.
Yeah, the server stack right here. I've got it running on a 16 amp 220 outlet, 240 outlet, because it is the UPS I've got it on has up conversion, and so I'm running a full rack of 240 off of a 120 outlet.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, you're still limited to that 15 amp that your 120 is providing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've got a 30 amp plug on a 16 amp outlet, and then I've just told the PDU, the power distribution unit, that it's only allowed to use 16 amps, and so I'm not there. I've got 2 servers that I want to use, 3 in the rack, and a gaming computer that I don't game on because the munchkins. And it's doing all right. I think it was at 4 amps, 6 amps last time I looked at it when it was cooking a little bit.
I know you could get away with it if if it were linear, but those would be huge. Can you take the voltage from 2 what are they called, switch mode USBs and make your 120 Or would that just cause a fire?
I'm sure there's a way to do it safely.
Because of maybe there's like a off phase. Yeah, that'd probably be it because your 120 or your 240 to the home is split phase, so they're in synchronicity. I don't think you could synchronize two USBs.
Well, they're
UPSs,
DC. They're DC, so you'd have to switch them to AC,
but the inverter.
and then
Right.
tell your inverters to
How would
where you want them to go.
that 60 cycle a second? Yeah, it would have to be synchronized, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To amplify to 240.
Yeah. I could see somebody doing it. It'd probably be one of these battery pack makers that do
That'd
it.
be sick.
Yeah. And so the way I've done it is with the Zendur Super Base V. But the new EcoFlows, they do it. I think the Anchors have a model or two that will do it. But basically, any of these, they call them home generators, but really they're just battery packs with inverters attached. They can, the new ones can all do the up conversion, but all my stuff is old. So my Delta Pros are the original version, and the way they're doing the 220 is I've got two of the main units, and then two extra batteries on each of them. They do it through a smart panel onto the home. And the new ones, they just can do it on their own as a single unit. I think it starts with the Delta Pro, and then only the Delta Pro and Delta Pro Ultra can do it. And then I don't know if I think the newest Jackery they were advertising does it, but I tend to stay away from them because their price seems to be a bit inflated compared to their competition. I know Anchor's got a couple of home backup units, so they can definitely do it on at least some of them. So that's, I mean, it's nice. It's an extra purchase versus if you already have a car, and so that's why you and I like the idea of being able to plug the car in to do it, right? So. I think the best combo is to have one or two of those small battery packs at home, and then the EV for sustained outages. And in the comments, DH warns us about the Ford Lightning. A slight adjustment to your verbiage about the Lightning. Yes, it may require the proper equipment on the building's side to safely and legally do vehicle-to-home options. The problematic Ford Sunrun Delta home integration system is only needed if you want fully automatic but not reliable starting a vehicle-to-home. Lightning combined with SolarArc, Franklin, WH, Point Guard, Sieg Energy have all been demonstrated but require manual intervention to start the vehicle-to-home operation, as far as I know. So I think what he's talking about there is using your home's generator inlet. I know not all homes have one of those, but you can put one in for really cheap compared to any of the other electrical changes you might make to a home. You'll put an outlet that really is an inlet, and you'll put a way to block the home from energizing the grid from your power source. So either a auto transfer switch or a manual transfer switch where you'll turn off the main breaker and then slide this metal grate, and then you'll turn on your source. And then switch it back, you'll turn off your source, move the grate, and then turn on the mains again. Very simple. Elegantly simple. All right, so let's see what's I'll just flip back and forth between the sources. Let's do that.
You used the word lightning. Is that pertaining to some equipment?
The Ford Lightning, F-150 Lightning?
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Because at first I was thinking lightning suppression.
Oh, yes. While you're in there, get yourself a whole home surge protector. They're like $30. My electrician installed it for next to free because he was already in the panel. It's like, here, boom, done. Oh, wow, that was simple. I already had the part. He said, while you're getting this, grab that, and I'll do it. So that was nice of him, and I appreciate it. Okay, so now we're looking at potentially $28,000 off a Jeep Wagoneer S. Let's see what's going on. Like a 90s gifted kid that was supposed to be a lot of things. Electric, yeah. Oh, man. I wonder what our solution is for that today. Because we ruined a lot of kids with the 90s gifted kid thing. So much wasted talent all around the world. It's too late now. Anyway, the Jeep Wagoneer S never really found its place. But when dealers started discounting the Jeep brand's forward-looking flagship by nearly $25,000 back in June, I wrote that it might be time to give the Go Fast Wagoneer S a second look. And who is he? Joe Barras. Update 23 August. I found you some even better EV deals. Okay, we'll look at that. It wasn't on the plan, but we'll do it. Where I thought it went. $20,000 off. The update wasn't to say, "Oh, it's gone." It was to say, "I found more." Okay. Wagoneer S is not a bad car. Just a massive ice-powered Wagoneer. Sibling. Jeff Beezers in Minnesota, 25 Wagoneer S Limited, 67,790, 39,000. Wow, my goodness, that is a strong deal. It went from 67,790 to 39,758, and this is a large vehicle. So if you have a family that needs this, or you carry cargo that you like to be covered, that's a strong deal. I don't know how good the Jeep Electric is, but that's substantial. Tron Cali CJDR in Georgia has a Wagoneer S Limited with for $42,697. Whitewater CD, Chrysler Jeep Dodge Jeep Ram. That makes sense now. Has theirs for $43,846, and Antioch has theirs for $44,540. Top comment by the Morning Line says, the manufacturers need to stop with this false premise that people don't want EVs. They do, but they want good ones. Yes, at a good price. A car that has worse specs than ones for $20,000 less isn't going to sell. I mean, if you get the price to the right place where it's supposed to be for what you get, yes, it actually will. But no, people are not going to pay $50,000 or $60,000 for the bunch of names, the Charger Delta Fresonius, blah blah blah. When you can get a Model 3 Performance for $20,000 less, I get a much better car, or any of the EV trucks, not even the sport ones, just any of the EV trucks, and beat that sports car. We got a couple comments. Lee says, "Happy Sunday, Lee." And Anders, Anders, yours has a vehicle to load from the EV6 GT line from 220, one inside and one on the adapter for the charge port. Okay, so they do have one inside. I was curious about that, and it makes sense to have one there. And to have one on the outside is also really nice. And so I know they still use the adapter thing over there, and so they do it with the Type 2 port. It's pretty cool. Do they use the CCS to do it, or do they do it through the AC charger on it in reverse? I'm curious. Also, how many amps? How many amps do they do? Thank you for that, Anders. Also, now that the strike is over, have you been able to use any of the new superchargers? I don't know if you've been on any road trips since last week. They use the CCS side to do it. Okay, interesting. But that makes more sense though, because if you're able to just pull out DC and then invert it, it's probably a lot easier to to do and stay in spec than to try and push it through the AC port, unless the AC port was designed for it, which Type 2 on cars was not. Type 2, you'll actually see it like in your grocery store here in the States, or at a warehouse, or at a factory, because we just use it as a mobile plug that you can like move shelves around or roll a refrigerator somewhere and just jack it in. And so you don't have to use it to charge a car, but when you do use it to charge a car, it's got different specifications on it. You okay? No, I still hear kids doing stuff, so maybe something just fell on its own. That happens sometimes. Fingerprint doesn't match. The fingerprint most definitely matches. I might have to add some more. Okay. Neat. The market for $65,000 SUV is already somewhat limited, especially in an economically uncertain time. Yes. And there are just straight up way better options. Yes. Make a good car for a reasonable price and it will sell. Quit blaming the consumer for your own mistakes. Agreed. Select has bet big on electric versions of the iconic American brands like Jeep and Dodge, but consumers aren't buying on the premise. But you see, they have a core customer that they have cultivated, and that's why there is a higher percentage of these things over at rental lots and at the military bases where they will have people fresh out of basic, and why you have the dealerships for these right next to the rental car lots and right next to those same military bases. And that's not everybody, obviously, but that's the target customer that they've picked and cultivated towards. The problem is that as those people go up their income ranks and start to grow their families and need the bigger vehicles, you've been telling them vroom vroom, go fast, go loud, and they're going to find a sophisticated version of that. They're going to be skeptical of something very new that you aren't pushing and selling and giving them the benefits of. You're just like, here it is, get it, it's electric. You're not telling them, hey, you can run your house off it. Hey, your fuel bill is going to go from $500 a month to $75. You're not giving them anything other than, if they go on a test drive and they can see it for themselves. So when you're cultivating folks that you want to just part with the money quickly and then appeal to their vanity, you can't use that same sales technique on EVs that are priced super high and underperform the competition. So if they look at it and do any research, they're going to see, hey, I can get anything else for half the price and have a better experience. You've now lost your customer. Look at what happened with all the Toyota Prius customers that now have EVs. Very few of them actually went back with another Toyota unless they came really late to the game and bought a BZ, whatever. BZ4X, BZ, whatever is out there, because the China has another BZ. But they had a very technical customer that was really about the fuel savings, and you give them a car that's got an 11-mile range and a 2-hour charge or more, 2 to 4 hour charge for substantially more, and then they can get a Volt for the same price as your thing and get 25 to 55 miles depending on how they drive instead of 11. they were gone. And if they were done with gas altogether, they went with the Leaf. And if they had a little bit of money, they went with the Roadster or the Model S, depending on when in the cycle we were talking about. So Toyota lost so many customers by doing the same thing that Dodge and Chrysler and Jeep and Ram were doing with their not trying to change their marketing on the EV versus their core product. And Toyota was even worse than that because they knew how to sell these things. This wasn't their first go around with the plug. They had them in the 90s, and they were just sitting on their lead in hybrids because they were first to come out with one of the modern hybrids in Japan in '97, while Honda beat them in North America by just sending the Insight over here for '99. And all the Japanese really were just slow and late to EVs, but Mitsubishi did okay with what they had to work with. They're not the largest brand, at least not the car side anyway. And they were selling everyone they could, so they can't say they weren't trying. They were making basically a Volt in a small SUV, in the Outlander plug-in. And they had the Leaf, but I don't know that it really counts because while they had the lead for years and years, they pulled the tortoise in the hare and laid down and gave it all up in the middle of the road. You got the Aria now, but it's not class leading in any way. It's not bad. It's not what they need if they want to be a leader in electrics. We'll see if the new Leaf can bring them back a little bit, but I don't know that it will. And then you've got all the Japanese on the hydrogen, and then the South Koreans also on the hydrogen. Thankfully, South Korea has realized that hydrogen isn't going to do it, so they are just doing it for whatever credits and research money they can get. Whereas the Japanese are still trying to make that float, and it's not going to happen. All just to say, if you're drawn to the Jeep Wagoner but couldn't quite stomach the $70,000 window stickers, you might want to check in with your local Jeep dealer and see how you feel about it. JCPenney's like 30% off. Oh, all right then. All right. But anyway, like I said, if it works better for you at $30,000 off, plus your $7,500 tax credit if it qualifies, give it a shot before it's too late. But also, don't say, hey, you told me to get the Jeep and it doesn't do this, this, and this. I know nothing about the Jeep, except that it's got a plug. It's worth looking into. You've got a month, but not really a month. You've got less than a month. You got a paper month. Okay, so now we're going to look at the R4 and R5. We're in R1 S and T. The R3X. The R3X I think is going to sell very well. It's got a good look about it, and from what they say about where they're targeting that one to be, it's going to be fun to drive, priced right. It's got a certain styling that the folks are familiar with and have been missing. So we'll see what they do with it. But as Rivian's CEO indicated in a recent interview, the EV startup isn't stopping there. He said the company's engineers, designers, and product planners have already started to think about what could be done with the R4 and R5. There's actually a whole series of things that happen way before we get deep engineering of the vehicle, which is conceptualizing. Yeah, you gotta have an idea before you start drawing something up. We have a design engineering team that does a lot of this advanced work and was already thinking about what is R2, what is R3, well before we'd moved our full engineering team to work on those. As Karen said, right now, the engineering work at the Rivian is laser focused on the R2, but it better be, which is slated to debut next year with $45,000 starting price and the platform it uses. The platform will be significantly more advanced and cost effective to make than even the current flagship R1 models, and it will underpin the R3 and R3X. Yeah, basically for the R3 is going to be an R2 shrink, which is fine. A lot less volume in the R2 than the R1. Looking at the picture here for those of you guys on audio. Yeah, I guess they have room for a smaller one than the R3X and R3. I didn't ever see it lined up next to the other Rivian upcomings, so I didn't realize how big it was. They have room to go smaller. I don't know if they can do a car instead of a truck, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Because they still want to get to sub $30,000. They mentioned the Cybercab at $25,000. Let's see. Analysts, investors, and fans alike have called Tesla to make a sub $30,000 EV. Such a project seems to be a point of contention with CEO Elon Musk. The world's richest man says that his company is all in on artificial intelligence, robotics, and robotaxis, making more cars. Last year, Musk said he was opposed to making a cheaper EV program that could share a platform with its Cybercab. A $25,000 EV is pointless, he says, because it's human-driven rather than fully autonomous. So I guess they changed topics in the middle of their podcast, like maybe after RJ hung up the phone or left the studio. Yeah. Something to watch. Let's see what they do. All right, and so what he did for us with his update was a link to Cars Direct and a pre-search for that Jeep to get the money off. So don't need to mess with that. And now we'll look at the 50-ton Sani Reach Stacker. Brings Formula One tech to the job site. Oops, sorry, I was scrolling too far to the side there. So it looks like it's taking a couple of the Chinese competitors to the Tesla Mega Pack and stacking them up. Multinational equipment brand Sani just launched a clever new 50-ton Reach Stacker that pairs gravity and a new F1 style KERS system to generate electricity. Oh, that's kind of cool. Improve operating efficiency and reduce costs. So they have regen on the when you go to lower the load, it'll charge your battery. That's actually pretty smart rather than just burning it away. So KERS is the kinetic energy recovery system, and it's a staple of Formula One in the late aughts and 2010s. Advanced form of regen, and KERS captures the kinetic energy of a car at a speed that would normally be lost as heat when the brake pads pressed against the brake discs. Instead of that, KERS converts the energy into the battery. So that's kind of cool. So the 50-ton stacker has a 512 kilowatt-hour swappable battery pack that's compatible with their other heavy equipment, the other Sani equipment assets. It supports both DC fast charging when swapping is not practical or desirable, and then of course probably also supports AC charging just fine as well. On a single charge and backed by the onboard KERS, that's enough for the machine to lift and move containers that are for more than 7 continuous hours, which Sani claims significantly reduces the downtime for charging compared to other similar equipment and assets. So I would think that you would then change the battery in between shifts or on a lunch break. 7 hours is about a work day. You got your lunch break too, right? So it's not a bad deal. The new Sandy Reach stacker can stack 6 50-ton containers. 6 I'm guessing they're saying the 6 high. Greatly enhancing a site's container and battery storage density with limited space. The first units will reach unnamed customers, building out utility-scale energy storage project by the end of this month. Well, based on the photo, I would say that we would look for somebody using this particular megapack competitor. And then we'd have an idea who might be the customer of the Sandys. Neato. I'm curious what the comments are on this. They've got one comment. Let's see. Things like this really bring home how far behind we are in electric heavy equipment. Well, John, we are. We totally are. This is another rehash of the R4, so we can skip it. And we can talk about Rivian FSD. Rivian says hands-off point-to-point driving coming late 2026. All right. Half the folks out there with driver assistance systems probably aren't treating them the way they should anyway. Texting, sneaking in TikToks, peeling back the wrapper on a Taco Bell burrito. I don't think that the taco is that big of a deal if you're paying attention and ready to take over and willing to have tacos smeared everywhere. Not that the car will make it smear everywhere, but if you need to take over an emergency, you need to drop your distraction and take over. So Rivian knows this, and we're at the precipice of starting to see the delivery of capabilities that map all this infrastructure we built. First was hands-free. The obvious next step is hands-free everywhere, and the next step is the vehicle that can drive itself point to point. You know, address to address, as Karen said during their interview. It'll be hard to be overly precise on a timeline, honestly. 2 weeks. You can see why you can get there and get the dates wrong on this, but we've said this in 2026. We'll be hands-free point to point, and we're going to show you some of that at our autonomy day. Rivian's autonomy day. Okay, bring it on. I'll watch it. Bring it. All right, so next up, we've got, yes, multifamily home charging. Let's talk about it. EVs are great. Some of the benefits belong to those with consistent parking space. Some states have passed right to charge laws to give apartment dwellers a solution to home charging. Apartment charging is nevertheless a bit of a patchwork solution so far. Apartments, townhouses, condos, stuff like that. As a result of this, EV ownership among apartment dwellers lags behind that of single-family owners. Yeah, because it's more work if you don't have charging where you park. So if you don't have charging at work, you need it at home. And if it's not at home or at work, you're not gonna get an EV unless you're dedicated to the cause, or you're willing to do some stuff to get cheaper fuel. It's not always cheaper if you're charging out and about, because depending on where you pick to charge, they may charge more than the liquid fuels cost today. So it's fine on the road trip.
I would say that
Go ahead.
for the majority of renters in America, you are easily within contact of your landlord, who's willing to either let you pay for installation of a charging deck or do the work themselves. And you're talking very specific apartment complexes where they're owned by a corporation that just doesn't give a damn.
Yeah. So you got the corporates that don't care, and then you've got slumlords, but everybody else is usually willing to work with you. But be very careful, get it in writing. There was we talked a couple weeks ago about a young lady who bought a Rivian R1S, the new build, and she had permission from the landlord, and then they pulled it after after she went to go do it. I don't know if it's because she didn't do it the way they had agreed, or if they didn't understand what she was saying. But she did say that she is able to plug in using the 110, the 120 outlet. So as long as that meets your needs, that's fine. Or if you've got a case of like the washing is done in the garage and they've got a dryer, unplug the dryer, put in a dryer buddy. And I'm not saying that, I can't endorse the dryer buddy as, hey, do this, because you got to get the one that has the auto switcher, and they offer one that doesn't have the auto switcher. So I don't want you burning down your rental house and blaming me. But if you get one that's got the auto switcher, or you're cognizant enough to not try and dry the clothes and charge the car at the same time, that's 3.3 kilowatts right there. Easy. So obviously that doesn't work if you can't park really close to or in the building. If you're 3 lots over, then it's not going to do the trick. But just because you're renting doesn't mean you can't do this. When I rent this building out, I've got 80 amps of NACs right there for you with solar. So your bill is going to be substantially decreased from anybody else who you might rent from in this area. So I might say something when it's back on the market. We'll see. Right now we're doing some work to the place to make it more palatable, make it have a little bit more longevity. So my theory with that is we're right in the middle of low information bill, and there are some chargers, but there are very few on rental properties around here. So I figure that means that if you like me and I like you, and you got an EV, it gives you extra incentives to stick around, because your next place might have you going back to the superchargers over and over again, huh? I don't know. I think it's good business. There we go. I don't know what that was up there. EV ownership among apartment renters. Certain areas where EVs have hit a point of critical mass, namely large California cities, have pretty good EV ownership among renters, but it could be better. And residents are clamoring for more and more. Yes, indeed. I think that's going to be my thing. As we get more rental properties, we're going to do solar and EV charging will be our thing until it's just standard for everybody, and then figure something else out that people want and put it in there. I mean, aside from nice, comfortable, clean, dry place to stay. So fourth, a nonprofit is advocating for equitable access to clean transportation. They've set up a program called Charge at Home, which is meant to connect renters and apartment buildings owners and other decision makers with resources to help install at multifamily properties. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do the work yourself, most landlords are not going to say no. If you do it personally yourself and you're not an electrician, they might say no to that. But I mean, like, if you say, hey, here's my $500 charger, I'm gonna leave it in the building, I'm gonna have Bob's Electric put it in, are we good? They'll say, yeah, sure. As long as it's over here, looks good, I'll say yes or no. And then, of course,
But also, what's the nonprofit involved in? They're something equitable. Are they talking like legislating a demand for landlords, or how are they involved?
Let's click on their program. It sounded like they were just like a matchmaker rather than trying to force it, which I think is going to be the best way to get this done for the next 3.5 years. But you have a good point, and we should look at them and see their approach. So we'll do that in just a moment. I've opened up a tab, and that's a good point. So with the landlord, as you've got them to agree to put this in, the next part will go one of two ways. Some of them will not want you to take it out of the house because, depending on which one it is and how it's done, like with the Tesla Gen 3 connector, I mean, you can take the faceplate and leave the wiring intact, and then the next person just needs a new faceplate. The same goes if your charging station is just a 50 amp outlet. Easy peasy. But if it's something like my Gen 2 wall connector where it's kind of hardwired in, then it's going to go one of two ways. Either you'll want to stay long enough that you won't miss it, or if you have a nice enough landlord, they might be willing to split some of that with you when you leave, either taking it out, put it back in your deposit, or taking it out of your rent a little bit as you go along, because you just made an improvement to their property. The corporate places, like the smaller corporate places, not the big giant things, if you get one to agree to it, they don't care that you just made their place better. They might let you do it, and if they do, don't expect any give and take on it. You've just contributed to their property, and get to charge while you're there.
But yeah, definitely get it. Whatever you do in writing.
Yes.
Like I have a friend who rented a house that had a literal hole in the floor,
Ooh.
and so he spent like $500, $1,000 replacing the floor.
Yeah.
And then what his landlord do? She upped the rent. Oh, you got a floor now. Your rent's higher.
Gracious. Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly. So some of them are greedy. I mean, there's making money, making a profit, and then there's doing the right thing, and a lot of them would rather go for the dollars than do the right thing. And the way they do it is just like that lady. The friend might have just moved back out, and now nobody wants to rent it because it still looks like the one that had the hole in the floor, and then she's charging too much, and so nobody wants to deal with it. Or it could be one of those housing repressed areas, and she got away with it and got the money. So yeah, you definitely want to get it in writing, and it's not one of those situations where you want to ask permission. Ask forgiveness. You want to ask permission first, because depending on what you do, how it goes, and then worse if it goes wrong. If it goes wrong, then they're definitely going to sue you for a lot. It's not worth the risk to do it without permission. All right, so let's see. Site houses links to design a multifamily project, find electricians, inform you about your rights to charge laws and available incentives, and provide case studies. All right, so far, it still sounded like a matchmaker, which, again, I still think is a good idea. Let's just select your situation. I wonder if what you're doing is the people that are on the other end of the matchmaking, if they pay like an advertising fee to get listed or something. Charging home also.
I mean, not to be put too fine of a political point on it. It's just whenever I hear about equitable solutions, it means passing the buck on to someone else.
It does sound that way, yeah. And I don't know, like you said, if it's got any sort of legal component to it, I don't think that's going to go well in the current political climate. All right, so unknown error. My moderators aren't able to moderate right now, so I'm going to give you a chance. And let's see what you got. Okay, so there are a lot of considerations for each of these projects. It can be helpful to have someone with experience help you go. Yeah, absolutely. As a developer or a customer, like the end customer that's going to live in the place, it's very helpful to have somebody who's already done the process. So that part is nice, but like you said, like that word has become charged lately. If you look at the Charge at Home, is offering free charging consultations for multifamily developers, owners, property managers, and HOAs. Those are the worst of all to try and get through, because, well, let's just say that most HOAs have earned their stereotype reputation. Let's put it that way. Not all, but nearly all. Charging consultations have been made possible by funding from Department of Energy. That's why they keep using those words. And they need to take that word out of their lexicon before they get nixed. They can still do the thing, but don't use it. Though that funding may only runs through the end of September, so get your request in soon. Oh, there we go. We've answered that. Fourth may still offer consultations afterwards, but it's uncertain about the funding, so it doesn't promise, and it doesn't want to promise anything. So they might charge you for the consultations, or they might find another source, or they might have to close up shop at the end of next month. At the very least, Fourth points out that whether and that's also how they can do the matchmaker thing. So I guess they're not doing paid matchmaking. That would be another way they can do it, like we saw with the link that the guy gave us for the cars, to find the Jeeps with the tens of thousands of dollars off. Electric's take is that I've long said the only real problem with EVs is the problem of access to consistent charging for people who don't have their own garage. Yes. Whether this be apartment dwellers, street parkers, or the electric car charge, or the like, the electric car charging experience is often less than ideal outside of single-family homes, at least in North America. Agreed. Top comment by Jameson Dow. Excuse me, in case you missed the link in the middle of a bunch of text, here it is again, chargeathome.org. So let's go there now and take a look at chargeathome.org. Expanding access to electric vehicle charging at multifamily properties. Yep, that's the kind of place I was thinking of. Typically, that you might have an EV that you can't charge it at home. Schedule a charging consultation for your property, resources for decision makers, resources for residents, get started with an installation, navigate to get started to drive in, or resources for a glossary of tools and education materials and case studies, multifamily housing project builder tool, case studies, webinars and events. Looks like it's well thought out. Let's go to About and see if they can tell us more other than the Department of Energy connection. Is it going? I clicked About. There we go. The project provides tools and resources to advance the adoption of electric vehicle charging at multifamily and multifamily housing properties. Charge at Home aims to streamline the EV charging planning and installation process for the multifamily housing industry through education, resource sharing, and support. Oh, I'm sorry, Anand, your hand is up. Go ahead.
I think this is a great conversation, right? But there's definitely an amperage limit.
Yes.
That's encountered on a lot of circuits, right? And that's why you need to have an electrician, right?
Yes.
Because once you start pulling more power out of a specific source, right, you're actually affecting the grid, especially if you live in a large apartment area, right? And the number of amps you actually pull through that circuit can actually cause a cascade problem through the rest of the network. And the last thing you want to be responsible for is causing a draw that actually exposes a weakness and actually forces an electrical problem that affects the community.
That's a very good point. Like, you don't have to worry about damaging your landlord's property. You could damage the neighborhood's property. It'd be a world of hurt. So you definitely need to get the appropriate permission for these things. And there's ways for them to mitigate. Like we saw that project in Southern California where they did have a grid connection limitation, and they weren't even offered the opportunity to get a bigger pipe. They had to instead come up with a solution where they had the rolling slots where it would take, here's your turn to charge at this speed, as well as Bob down the street and Susie down below. And then when your time was up, we'd go on to the next house, next apartment, next condo. I think that one was condos, the next condo. And then, if somebody missed their slot and somebody else wasn't using their slot, it would give you the opportunity that, I don't know if they had this implemented, but it had the capability that you could get a makeup slot until they got back and it was their turn. And then as soon as they plugged in, they would get priority because it was their turn to charge. And they had enough of a connection that if everybody got home that night sometime, that they could be ready to go to work in the morning with enough miles to go to work. Might not be enough for a road trip, but everybody had enough to get to and from work every day, assuming they went home that night. Obviously, if you didn't go home at night and you show up at 2 a.m, good luck getting your spot enough to get done. But that ability for it to shuffle back if somebody else isn't using their spot Like say somebody's got a plug-in Prius and it took an hour to charge, but they've got a 4-hour slot, and you showed up at 3 in the morning, you might be able to finish their slot, and then everybody still has enough. But you're only guaranteed, if you showed up before midnight and plugged in, that you'd be ready to go in the morning. So that was pretty cool. And I bet you that they have solutions like that available through this program for depending on the property. Another thing to be looking at is some of the townhouses in even new ones still only have 100 amp connections. So that's not saying that you can't charge an EV, but it does require more cognizance. So you can run the AC and the EV and the clothes dryer, but then you can't run the oven. So you gotta either have a solution in place or the training, and then have have it posted next to the oven. Hey, check to make sure you're not charging your EV, and then have it next to the breaker. Like, hey, it's tripped. Make sure that you're not overdrawing, because you keep dripping, then you can start a fire. Something to that effect. It doesn't have to be high tech, but it does need to be addressed. Although, even on 100 amp connection, go ahead.
You could even have unique solutions where there is like unique 240-volt supplies for like dryers, for example, that exist.
Yeah, like the Dryer Buddy.
You could something built into the design where you can't the 240-volt circuit at the same time that you charge your car.
Exactly.
Right. That could actually provide a limitation that contains the draw that the wiring was built for.
Exactly. And you don't have to do a whole.
Surprised nobody's.
Yeah, you don't have to do a whole smart panel either to get it. Like, you can have just a smart circuit that says, "Hey, this is the dryer, this is the EV, this is the oven, this is the EV," and then obviously they're going to do consultation to figure out which circuits their customers are going to want to use. I mean, if it's one-off, it's a lot easier because, hey, landlord, I don't cook and charge at the same time, or I don't dry the clothes. That's between you and them. But if they're going to do a whole site, they're like, hey, we've got this, we've got this old post office or this old grocery store, and we're converting it to condos, and we've only got this much per condo, and this much in the parking lot. How are we going to do it? So if it's the parking lot lights, they can say change from the old gas lamps, not gas lamps, the xenons and whatever, to LED, and then they've got a little bit of budget left over that they can do, maybe charge 10 cars. And so they just say, hey, we only have 10 chargers, or we can have 50 chargers that take turns, or even better, 50 chargers, and they just load share like the old Gen 2 superchargers, Gen 1 superchargers. But there's plenty of creative. Go ahead.
And once you're considering parking a vehicle, right, you should consider that could be an overnight connection, right? So it's not like a supercharger where you want to like get them out as fast as possible.
Exactly.
Right? You can also consider even a 20 or 30 amp circuit to a charger. Charger actually detects the input charge if it could go down to the rate of charge. Right?
Exactly.
That would almost be invisible within like an 8 to 10 hour charging cycle. Right? So there needs to be some intelligence involved.
Exactly. And people with
chargers rather than just trying to charge as fast as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. And so somebody might say, oh, it's only 20 amps. It's 20 amps at 240. And how long do you sleep, right? So that's enough for most EVs on the market today to go from empty to a substantial state of charge, if not full. 20 amps at 220, 240 actually. The only ones that would have trouble would be like the Hummer, the Cybertruck, the pickup trucks from empty to whatever. But again, if you're not doing road trips every day, that's going to be enough to get to and from your commuting situation. So it's nothing to poo-poo about, especially if you can do 20 amps spots instead of one fast charger. like literally like a 100 not 100 kilowatt charger, but something that gets you done, but not all that fast. As a supercharger, but faster than everybody's gonna be asleep, right? So you don't need the one fast spot if you can have 50 slow spots. So.
Well, I mean, even still, you're going on a road trip, you're stopping somewhere to eat or shop. You can always hit a supercharger on your way out. I mean, start the trip.
Yeah. Or at least get enough to get, hey, the first supercharger we might want to stop at, let's make sure we had an hour on the road before we have breakfast. And so now you're having breakfast near the supercharger. Creative solutions. So it's worth looking into. So this is the chargeathome.org.
Don't forget there's advanced rectifiers that are involved within the Teslas themselves that actually protect them against outside charging. That's one of the other things that I think Tesla is handling that surprise nobody talks about.
Yeah. So
they actually have their own intelligent system to even monitor the charge that they're given.
Yeah.
That's something that competitors don't do.
That's true. And they have a wide range of charges that they accept. And so anybody who has NACS, so basically all the new cars and then all the Teslas, you can give them some wild power to put in, like stuff that would fry a regular car. Just like we want to do this particular 3-phase to 220 connection. Here you go. It's actually 277 volts. Okay, no problem. We can take 277. Let's go. Or hey, it's only 198 because for whatever reason. Well, we charge in Japan. We can do that too. Let's go. And you got to think a little bit more outside the box. But another thing I think that will help with this is as vehicle to load and vehicle to grid come out, they might be able to make an agreement. Well, first, if it's tied directly to your house and your meter, they could possibly put some of these the power share type circuits in, depending on how they're wired, to do that, and that would be a benefit to them and you. They could say, hey, our houses, our condos have support for power share, so when the next Texas heat or cold or the next Chicago whatever happened, you're ready to go, and that could be a selling point. Or if they offer time of use, you could you might not have solar on the place, but you might still be able to arbitrage it through your EV battery. Another way they could look at it is if they compensate you, but they use that to keep the whole complex up, or they just take a VIG from working with their power company. They can say, hey, we have 50 residents, 20 willing to sign up, give us this much, and then they give you guys another amount, and everybody wins. That's another incentive for them as vehicle to X becomes more and more of a reality. Like the lady with the hole in the floor, because money talks.
I would be a little remiss if you had landlords doing some shenanigans where, your lower rates in the evening.
Yeah.
In certain states, locations, where the landlord's like saving money on all of his renters. So now all of a sudden, you're one of 2 EV owners, but you've got 20 tenants, and they're all enjoying electricity off your car battery because landlord wants to save money on the paid utility bill. Yeah. So now you're always got a weak charge or something because the entire complex is running off your car for 4 more hours until the charger kicks on during low peak. Some nonsense like that, I would hate that whole, well, you get your own EV, stop
right
off mine.
Although if they offer proper somebody's been in my M&Ms, the seal isn't sealed. I know I sealed it when I put it up last night. If they have proper reporting and recording on your EV, that could offer an opportunity for you as well. Like they could still do that, and yes, it'd be coming from you, but you would know, and they'd be paying for it. I think that's win-win as well. Like it doesn't even have to be you and the power company; it could be you and the landlord.
Get a few $100 off my rent. That'd be great.
Well, but I think that's where Tesla could actually come up with an advanced interface. Or you could set your car to where, like, hey, really, really need a 50% charge to make it through my next day.
Yeah.
So there could be an option that if my car charges above my expected usage for the next day, which 50% is fine, right?
Yeah.
It can get back to the grid, allow it to actually discharge on demand, right? Then you could fulfill your own needs and actually still help the community,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think that they've got the
there
tech
would
for
need
it.
to be some kind of definition that you could set
Yeah.
to make sure that vehicle that you paid so much for, you invested the capital.
Exactly.
So it needs to serve you, number one. But if you could say, hey, yeah, I've got a buffer zone. If you're above 50% and the grid needs something, send it back in.
Yeah.
Stop. If it goes below 50%, because that's your contribution limit.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, even for money, not just the goodwill, I'm not going to strand myself. So it needs to stop at wherever I say I need to be at a baseline, and wherever I need to be for tomorrow, it needs to keep it in consideration. And I think they could build on the they call it their auto bidder. They could build on the auto bidder technology that they use in the megapacks and the power walls and the distributed power wall systems. This is just another battery. It's just one that can roll away at any point in time. So it doesn't take that much extra
You get a
coding.
knock from your landlord. Hey, do you think you can set your car to provide more electricity so that we don't hit so much high demand?
Right. I'll take 20 off the rent.
Well, because like the average person, right, never wants to drive more than a couple hours a day, which is equivalent to like 100 miles of range, right?
Exactly.
But most EVs have 200 plus miles of range. So unless you're like an Uber driver, right, which I have been,
Yeah,
right,
same.
where like, man, I kind of panic when I'm under 40% because it's like, what's the next ride going to be?
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're actually doing driving as part of your income, right?
Right.
A lot of people have 100 miles or less that they need to do in any given day. So there's like 60 to 70% of that battery that is just excess beyond the daily usage requirements.
Exactly. Yeah, I've recently dropped my charge level down to 75% on the 8-year-old Model X there, and P100D too. So it's heavy and thirsty, even when you're not P100ing it out. It still does more than the base model, and I find that we go from 75 to we usually park at 30 or 40% for most of our driving around, and when we supercharge, that already puts us in a good spot. That even our first supercharge stop is already at the good spot, because the regions we drive in, there are superchargers, but they're not enough of them, and so it ends up trying to charge us too early if we leave at say 90%. We do sometimes still do 100, but we have to be in a really weird like supercharger desert to want to start at 100, because one, you got to wait for it to get there, and then two, you gotta drive just right to get there. Not to get there, like you're not gonna get stranded.
And as an Uber driver, even with the superchargers, man, like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is like half cost charging.
Yeah.
Right. So I actually enjoy doing Uber driving, and then I try and judge my distance, and then at like 2 a.m. I'd go hit the supercharger, and then I could charge at half the cost.
Nice.
Right. And that's also beneficial to the grid as well, right? Because the only reason it was actually cheaper was because that was the lowest grid production, right?
Right.
And then that's when energy was cheaper.
Yeah. I like it when they get to the point where it's like, hey, please take our power. We'll pay you to take the power. It doesn't get that way often, but it happens. And it'd be also if the supercharger would do that as well. It's like, hey, come charge now, and we'll give you $50 to charge. And then they collect like $300 from the grid.
I have never heard that happening. That's a real thing, huh?
It is. It actually happened during the
Wow.
Texas outages recently. They had some places where they just had so much power pent up because they couldn't get it out. They're like, we need this to go somewhere, and they were paying people to charge their batteries and stuff. Half the other state.
It's like that oil collapse that they were paying people to take barrels of crude oil.
Yeah, exactly
off
like
the
that.
property.
Yeah, because they couldn't get it where it needed to go effectively, but rather than waste it, just pay somebody to take it, versus them having to pay another grid to take it, which is another consideration. So
I did send you the updated part of they call it consumer use, the switcher box in the house. And I've got extra pieces to go on there, but the bottom bit's still the same with the amp socket. I know other people have got higher ones. And I also showed the other bike when I was on the ride, the speed I was doing, even without the EV. It's taken the EV part off of it.
Okay,
it's just a regular bike, but you can see on my fit thing the max speed and the durations. I mean, that's what you can do even without the EV.
Yeah.
Obviously, the max speed was only from 1.4 miles, but as I say, I was out there on the bike ride doing the other things, but I went up to look at those other chargers, and I was looking at some of the areas that have got them, and I passed that other one. It still hasn't been finished. I don't know what's happened there. It's just like they've abandoned it. I don't know what's happened. They've got the it looks like it's all in there, but it's not finished.
They got the shell, but they don't have the charger.
They've got everything's all in, but they're just like cages around it. You can see all the all the plugs and all the rest of it is there, and it looks like the other box is there, but that's covered over. I'm like, well, it's been like this for a while now.
Yeah, Highlander had a couple near him that were like that. Like they were just ready to go, but they weren't. They didn't have the meter in it. It's like the work's been done. What's going on? But that's also like Unknown was telling us that it's not just what we can see. That sometimes the grid itself just does not have the proper maintenance or capacity to handle one more connection. So what they're really waiting on is for the grid to go pop in.
All off.
Yeah,
I did send you that thing before. They said they were switching them off to upgrade the whole system, so all of those ones were down.
Yeah,
and like everyone was like, "What we're going to do now?" Because they were all down.
Yeah, taking one that's online offline is a bad move for dealing with the public, but not turning one on is just annoying. But to take it offline is oof. Because the minute you turn it on, people are relying on it. So the next one, they've got this lady saying that it definitely worked. That because the $7,500 tax credit is going away, you should negotiate now. So I'm guessing she went to a dealership because any of the EV only brands would not negotiate on that. So let's see what she did. Looking to purchase EV, don't shy away from haggling. TikTok user Amanda says that the U.S. has scheduled dissolution of the $7,500 tax credit on September 30th could result in big savings. Chase Auto Finance indicates that this applies to the $4,000 credit on used EVs as well. Yeah, anything that was part of the IRA that gave you money, consider it gone on the 30th, with some exceptions. Go ahead, Unknown.
But there's also like this unknown thing that a lot of people don't realize is there's different parts of the grid that are DC and different parts of the grid that are AC.
Absolutely.
Right? Because DC transmits over shorter distances with more efficiency, but then AC is actually required for like power line transmission, right? And then there's all these transformer stations that actually convert AC to DC or vice versa, right? But our classic energy system is still built off of centralized distribution, right? And they actually have a really hard time trying to balance the amount of power so that they don't overload the individual distribution stations. So there's actually a lot of work that needs to happen at the endpoints that can communicate back to the central distribution points.
Exactly.
And how the endpoints can actually stabilize so that the centralized power generators don't have to provide as much. But that requires a lot of data, and that's not easy to do.
Exactly.
Right. So actually pushing back into the grid requires a lot of changes in the local infrastructure just to be able to account for the input.
It does,
And they
yeah.
need to really measure that as carefully as possible so that they don't end up pushing too much power from the central grid. It's a really complex situation that I don't think many people talk about enough.
Exactly, because everybody looks we're this high tech society, but they don't often realize is that our power grid is hundreds of years old, and it's designed around real time consumption. It's not designed to take power back in, not designed to distribute it. I mean, it can do all that now, but not with the way that we've been running it. It's like we can use the wires and connections and stuff, but we're gonna need grid tied storage either from the individuals or from the utilities themselves. They'll have to buy some battery packs and compute. The compute is going to have to be there to distribute and direct where this power is going, storing, and then you've got to remember that the typical generators are you've got nuclears, coal, steam. You know, they're all steam, but you've got all these large generations that don't change speed very effectively. Even the peaker plants don't really adjust properly, and so there's a lot of waste as they turn on, spin up, spin down, and then turn back off again. Having the grid storage either from your customers that you can count on, but again with your customers, if they can come and go with their car, it makes it harder to calculate. So that's why they prefer a hardwire battery like a Powerwall, Franklin, all them, as well as the super packs, the mega packs, and that's more predictable because nobody's going to go in and plug it, and they can see what percentage it's at. To the point where I don't know if it was Linus or somebody, one of the other Canadian YouTubers, went to visit a Canadian data center, and they pointed out that before they do their generator tests each quarter, they have to call the power company and say, hey, we're about to do the generator test in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. Be ready. That way when 30 kilowatts drop off the grid, they don't either have an overload of a local circuit or have a brownout somewhere else because it was done on Motoko. Because that is something to consider.
And the peaker plants are the classic design to carry the load spikes, right?
Yes.
But they're still mechanical devices. Batteries still end up performing better, but we actually have more. This is something worthy of fact checking. We actually have a much greater density of batteries that have been invested in EVs than actually centralized distribution grids.
Oh, that without a doubt.
Right? Because of the communication problem.
Yeah. So then we really want to.
I understand that there's a lot of load balancing happening, not necessarily with lithium ion, but like lithium iron batteries. Isn't that a big deal that Elon's involved in? Especially, I think Texas bought so many gigawatts of battery power.
Okay.
Gigawatt hours.
Out the door. And he was going to the doctor, poop in the toilet.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll touch you in a little bit, maybe. Okay.
I was going to say I've seen the service guy before when at the small parts of the transformer parts where he's servicing it because you got the day and the night one, and you can see how big they are. And when you see the switches from the day to the night and the usage, and he was in there servicing it, and I got a good look inside of it, and it's just massive. I mean, it's bigger than this room, just one of them.
Yeah.
And, you realise that one of those goes down, the other one kicks back into it, but then they're going to fix the other one and upgrade them because they can't take the amount of load that they're doing. So they have to keep upgrading these things.
Yeah, I think we're at an inflection point at this point because now we've got compute is like super cheap, super available, and we're talking like robust compute. We're talking you can do clusters to do like you have in the car right now. The car and the jets, they all have more than one computer deciding what's going on. So in your accelerator pedal, it's got 2 or 3 sensors, and if enough of them don't agree, then the car won't go anywhere. And same with the jet. If the pilot throttles up and one of the computers says no, he didn't throttle up, and they don't have enough other votes, then no, he didn't actually throttle up. And you can do that with a grid. Like, hey, these 3 say this, but the 4th one says no. Okay, so then what does that mean? How do you handle it? And it can be done very cheaply. Like a Raspberry Pi is $35. And if you're buying hundreds of thousands of them, then you're not going to pay $35. And I'm not saying to run the grid on Raspberry Pis, but I'm saying that's just how cheap some compute is. And then when you consider what it's doing, it's not. I mean, it is a delicate balance, but it's not a hard thing for a computer to do. You could probably run it on some really old tech. Yeah, you'll want some ECC RAM, some robust feeds to them, but probably don't want to run them like we've been running them in the past, just on the network with a password of 00000. But even
that's against the law. There's actually law now.
Yeah, finally. But the public key cryptography system that we have available today is if implemented correctly, is also next to free computationally, and we are at a great point right now that we can modernize the grid. But part of the problem is it's just like that landlord. We've got the lines were like in California, for instance. Like Texas's problem is not having enough investment, as well as being a special snowflake. And California's problem is that they have lines that are older than my grandpa that were supposed to have been changed out 30 years ago. So this greed and ultra profit lust is going to hurt that. But hopefully they can see that smartening up this grid can make them some money and save them some costs. Hopefully they are jumping on board before we have to force them to jump on board through legislation.
We're also in this stopgap scenario where we have the grid is set up for long distance transmission and very remote power generation in the middle of cornfields. And
yes,
the problem is that getting high density power across the country, from the middle of BFB to Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. It's hard
during peak hours.
Yeah.
You would have to double, triple, quadruple the amount of high tension, long distance transmission to meet those demands. That's why the batteries are a great stopgap right now.
Yeah. Because
they're able to charge overnight, provide that local demand during the day.
Yeah. You don't have to move it during the day. You can move it at night.
Nuclears going.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do need more localized generation because we've evolved to this point where, EVs, data centers, the whole AI data clusters.
None of this was foreseen.
Are going to definitely need. Yeah, nobody perceived that we would need, megawatts at every data center.
Yeah.
So we do need to come up with more localized transmission technology. So like micronuclear is obviously on the table.
Yeah.
But till that time, like batteries are a great stopgap, and
they are. Yes,
Elon's nailing it there too.
He is, yeah. They saw,
but don't forget that the community assisted power networks rely on communication,
yes.
Right? And communication can actually be blocked by like a foreign power,
exactly,
much more easily than they could disrupt something physical, right? So like a jammer could disrupt communication that could actually disrupt a power grid.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that remote communication that's required to have an advanced power grid actually has its own risk of being blocked.
Yeah. We are at such a new place in time, and because even if they had projected any of this, like they knew electric cars were coming, they knew data centers were getting bigger and bigger every year, but to think that we'd run it over the internet, or these are things that they may have seen parts and pieces of, but nobody saw what we were coming to as a whole picture today. And this is a hard problem to solve, and we've got the people and we've got the technology and the equipment to make it happen, but it's going to take effort. I hope that we're up for the task to get it done in time, because there's so much potential right now. before we have a chance to just lean into something weird and let it stick that way. Oh, well, this is the way it's always been done. So now is the time we can do something about it. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with between at the personal level, like, I've got some solar panels on my house. At the corporate level, like you've got that whole apartment complex. You got the data center, and then you've got the utilities, like either for profit or municipal. And then, like you said, there's the communication, the intercommunication, the internetworking of the grid itself, as well as of the controls and the requests and the. It's wow. And then we've got the grid scale free energy as well. We've got solar, we've got wind, we've got tidal, we've got this is regular hydro, but what's the other one? The tidal. It's like wind, but it's not regular tidal. It's just whatever's going on in the ocean there. I mean, it's still a type of hydro, so it's just not classic hydro. This will be.
And I'm still laughing, right? Because we're talking about the complexity of large systems, right?
Yeah.
But yet, what could actually resolve it is independent power production.
Yeah.
Actually being enabled more, especially for like the folks that have that data center.
Yeah.
Right. If we could actually promote on-site power generation and then have them hooked back into the grid.
Yeah, and then pay them for what we need from them. Yeah. I like that.
Because the more intelligent participation you have in a community, the more stable it is.
Yeah, yeah. So look at these. You've got these mega developments at the housing complexes. You've got this field, then you've got the playground, you've got the tennis courts. Like, hey, why don't we put solar up over the playground and the tennis courts, and put some batteries here, so that way, when a tree falls down, because we've got underground power inside the whole neighborhood, but the connection to the grid is on the pole in the trees. So now we can survive a outage, but not just survive the outage, but we can disconnect on signal. We can provide them on signal, and so now the $1 million we pay on cutting the grass is mitigated by the $500,000 that we got from supplementing the grid last year.
Right, but it requires an intelligent management system,
Yes.
especially if you have the ends providing power. That is a level of complexity that classic electricians and lawmakers just balk at, right?
Yeah.
Because it's out of their control.
And that's part of it. They want to control it all, but oh man, we have such opportunity right now.
The smart meters, they want to put all of those in there, as long as they can, because they control the power and what you're saying that you're using, and they can switch it off whenever they like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they used it for good, so they could see what the use was actually going up and down for better things. But what they're actually doing is sending people £1,000 bill when they were on holiday, and they weren't even there's no one even in the property.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that, or them going on fire, some of the newer ones, and also then you have to have your thing transmitted over the 4G. So you still go to a shop and give them the key, but it doesn't go into the meter then. So then if they choose not to put your thing on or cut it off, you're stuck. You're in for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm fighting that as long as I possibly can, because I know that's another point of control for them. Because I mean, they went from the mechanical to the digital, and they could just make it seem what it is. And when you plug that other thing in, you realise, hang on, I'm not using this, but they can say whatever they like, and you've got to pay for it. So that's the way you're having it.
Hopefully, they continue to have robust controls on like auditing that sort of stuff as well. But that you do bring up the point, not just locally to you, but like here in Georgia, well, not here in Georgia, but here in this country, in Georgia, they've been hearing stories of people with power bills that have jumped 1,000%, and I need to actually read and see what their excuse is for what's going on. But one lady, she waited like 4 months for a new smart meter, and then it didn't say, in the part that I could see, it didn't say if the new meter that she got actually resolved her issue, or if she continued to have sky-high power bills or not. But there's a lot going on right now, and so much opportunity, and as well as, like you said, chance for fraud and everything. It's like, hopefully it all goes well, and it's gonna be fun to watch. And if you have the means, do get yourself some local generation storage, and you already have the consumption, so the ability to go in off-grid mode. Not say off-grid, but in off-grid mode, to insulate yourself from what's coming. But I don't want to say unplug from the grid, because there's the opportunity for profit, or at least just to stabilize, if you are still able to input. So they have off-gridding inverters. They've got the Powerwall. They've got the competition of the other turnkey home storage and generation solutions, where you can still be plugged in, but without, or with the ability to just drop off as an invisible load whenever you want. So it's be interesting to watch. But if you can set yourself up for a little bit more success, then consider it.
But also know that no matter what you do, you will never fight the system. I know some of your folks are into this, and I think it was Oklahoma started it, where if you go off grid, disconnect, and have solar panels, they charge you by the square foot.
Wow.
And they'll make you pay into the grid service agreement, the service payments, because they still have to maintain the grid whether you're on it or off, and so basically taxing people who buy solar panels. And that'll come to electric cars, I'm sure. Some states somewhere are going to say, hey, we can make some money, offset some costs, charge these EV owners. They've got money. They don't need it.
Yeah.
You're going to see some of that.
You will.
I'm sure.
Yeah, there's two utilities that come to mind immediately. There's one around the corner from here, and then there's one up by my mom's house, where mine, not my personal one, but the one here, if you put in X amount more than you use for the year, they will charge you for it. They'll charge you as if you'd used that power that you gave them.
That's insane.
Yes. And then that brings up one more. So the one by my mom's house, they pay. They're like a community situation, so they've paid for a certain amount of consumption, and if you dip below a certain amount of consumption, then that messes them up. So that's similar to kind of like Oklahoma. They won't let you unplug, and they'll only allow certain size solar, etc. But then there's another one where they're similar to these two, where they're basically a community program, but instead of stopping you in any way, anything extra you make, they'll just keep it. And so if you don't use it by the reset, and the reset's countered to the financial year, countered to the calendar year, like it's just way out there, like it's in March or something. And if you haven't balanced out by then they will they'll just keep it. I guess it's better than charging you, but man, that doesn't feel right either.
It was something I remember from early, is sometime during COVID or just pre-COVID, and it was the first occurrence I heard of AI mentioned in media. Was that a company in Europe was making money because the European Union has this law where if you have solar panels, you have to pay a tax, like I was explaining. And so people were installing solar panels, quietly underground, black market, whatever.
Yeah.
And not reporting that they own solar panels. So this company became like a bondsman
snitch.
Or a snitch, and they were taking satellite photos and running it through AI to find solar panels that were unreported, and like then the European Union paying them money for finding them so they can fine the owners of the solar panels, and they got a finder's fee for illegal solar panel installations.
Oh, man.
So
it kind of makes you want to just find a farm out in the sticks that's too far to get cable and internet and power. And they say, "Oh, you don't have power. Oh, well, it's too far. I can't afford the $10 million to run a line out here." You just throw some solar panels and call it.
But now you're fighting against like surveillance satellites, what are you going to do? Like shoot them down?
Oh, you can't do that. I wonder I wonder if that would give you an opportunity to have like a camouflaged solar panel wrap that's like clear to infrared and
Right.
and the right wavelengths, but not to.
You could probably hide solar panels on the surface of a pond
Oh,
or
yeah.
backyard swimming pool.
Maybe.
It would be hard to see from a satellite.
I would actually refer you to Solar City's effort to actually have solar panel based tiling.
Yes. Those
Right.
Those are some beautiful houses.
But that because like the major vulnerability of solar panels is they end up having a flat surface,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's really hard to hide.
It is.
So even in like, if you put it over water, right, you'd have a rectangular grid
In the waves, yeah.
rather than a smooth
Well, the water
surface.
has the same
but
reflection as
tiling solar panels, right,
Yeah.
could actually be hidden as long as they don't have too large of a geometric structure that
Yeah.
would be invisible.
That would be cool. Yeah. I mean, I think we're at the edge of some of the stuff we've only used to read about in science fiction, like you have these like walkable societies where people ride their bicycles everywhere, and then they still have cars and trucks, but they're only to get between cities, and only when there's not already a train going that way, because like some official is going somewhere, or you're going to go visit your grandma because she fell ill, and like we have such opportunity right now, because like I said, again, science fiction, so it could be like a utopia or a dystopia. It's like, oh my goodness, we're there, and this is in my lifetime. It's awe-inspiring, and it's scary as hell.
Man, I'm still really kind of shocked that they haven't found like an efficient enough solar panel that you use mirrors to reflect sunlight to a central distribution. Man, I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah. I mean, because they had the one in
because mirrors are so much cheaper than
yeah, absolutely.
anything that you have to wire electrically, right? So if you could have a central panel that can collect more than average sunlight, I'm just waiting for that next generation.
Yeah, something like the one they just shut down, but instead of molten salt, it would be PV, so it'd be electric rather than heat. That would be, if they could make that work. I agree.
A problem with PVs are still like, I know a guy who installs them, and it gets to like 200 degrees Fahrenheit underneath any solar array.
Yeah, that's why they're not allowed to touch the surface.
Destroys the soul. Like you see all these green pictures of like solar panels living happily along fields and cornfields. No, they're taking up acreage, and it sterilizes the soil wherever you put them, and you're gonna have to like fertilize and invigorate that soil when those panels come down, if you're ever going to reuse that land.
Well, with agrovoltaics, you can put them in the water, or you can put them over land, and so you can either make them work with animals or with plants that actually are not standing of the direct sunlight. So like they've shown like where strawberries and I don't know if it was actually strawberries, but some kind of berry like a strawberry that couldn't take the direct sunlight. And so if you've got something that can handle it, and you do proper crop rotation, that the soil nutrients shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, but PVs don't make great shade. It's hot. They get really hot. They have to have a cooling mechanism, and wherever they are, like that field is going to be extraordinarily hot. Like we're talking 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's going to depend on how you construct it. Like
so
if you look at the car parks that have solar awnings, they're depending on how they have them structured. Like if it's facing straight down or clear and it's at a certain angle, it's going to magnify that. But most of them tend to be kind of at like a snow clearing, water shedding angle, and they're high enough up that the breeze takes care of it.
Even Linus's installation has tied into his pool heating.
Yeah.
Because they do get really hot and they degrade if there's no active cooling.
That's actually a good idea right there, to actively cool it to make it last longer. Put like water cooling on it. I'm curious if it's worth
So you can
the
do
complexity.
passive things too.
Well, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is solar panels actually degrade. I'd
Yeah.
actually be interested in knowing if solar panels actually degrade in their efficiency
They do.
as fast as lithium-ion batteries that are in use.
Good question. I'd say
Right?
they're probably slower though.
So
They
there's
suffer heat
these
death.
hidden degradations.
Yeah.
So even if you put in a system, it has a maximum capacity.
Yeah.
But it's going to degrade over time, whether it's battery or solar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even the wind stuff needs lubricants and continuous maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
curious.
a YouTube video on that about the panels, the commercial panel, the consumer panels.
Yeah.
And he bought 6 different brands, and I told you about it before. Some of them were getting far less than what they should have been, and then he did a follow-up video a year later, and he noticed between the different brands, some had lost 45%, some had lost 25%, and some had only lost 10%.
Yeah.
There was a big difference between the brands.
It's going to depend on.
Also, there's other ones like the ones in town I said before. When you sit on them, they also thermal generate the heat as well.
Yeah.
So I thought if people are sitting on them all the time, how is it going to generate things? But they generate it through that heat, and they've got inside the conduction, the cooling, and then I saw the other thing venting out the other day, and I saw that the steam vent, puff, like it's like a puff thing coming out the side. And I saw one of those other solar panels that you said that was raised up, and there was pipes running all underneath it, and those are the cooling things.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, most of the ones you see aren't cooled, but I'm wondering if it's worth the effort to add cooling, or not just cooling, but you'll see that in Europe a lot where they kind of co-generate, so it'll preheat the water before your boiler gets to it, and I'm curious about that. But the degradation is another thing to keep in mind. The panels that Jimmy Carter put on the White House, they've been taken down 3 more times. Each time somebody's like, "Oh, okay, it's time to replace them with something that's new now because they've surely degraded enough." And then they go up and they measure the things, and like each time it's like they're 20% more generation than was expected from their degradation. And so you've got these panels from the 70s that are just I think the last time they were redone was like right at the beginning of COVID. They were getting ready to take them down for the last time. And they're like, "Oh, they're still working. Let's move them to another building because we've already paid for the new ones. They're already here."
1970s.
Yes.
1970s solar wasn't PV. That was just water heating.
That was
Isn't
the
it?
primary, but we had satellites and they were solar, so I would imagine PV solar. So I imagine that the White House would have access to PV if that was what was going on. And then it'd be a little weird for them to keep mentioning the capacity of a water heater and then keep moving a water heater. So I'm inclined to think that the ones they're talking about.
There's also a weird formation of carbonization that can happen over copper wiring. When it's overheated, if it doesn't actually burn up. Right. And remember, even with copper wiring, right, the electricity actually flows on the outside, but stays within the insulation. But there has been some really weird formations of carbon that distribute throughout copper grids. That I think is kind of a phenomenon that we really need to study.
Yeah.
Is how to actually use that mass AC that actually provided a carbon coating on existing copper wiring that actually helped it transmit power better.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Like seasoning.
I'm just very leery, like going back to your discussion about converting like a molten salt solar field to a PV solar field.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is solar is better at the local generation and not long distance giant fields.
That too.
Yeah. It's such an expense to start up for one, but you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're still losing your 7 to 10% transmission and distribution line losses over great distances, and it's better to have it distributed in your locality for reduced distance losses. Plus, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So, like back in 2023, in 2021, Texas had started construction on a solar field. It took them, 2 years, and it was finally completed in 2023 in Fort Bend. A year later, the entire site was wiped out by a hailstorm.
Oof.
And I could look up how much it cost, but you can imagine it was a lot of money.
The insurance wasn't happy with that.
It became it suddenly became an EPA Superfund site because
the copper and
now the soil is polluted.
Yeah,
the soil's polluted, and so they have to mitigate the soil so it doesn't leach into the groundwater. It was just the largest kerfuffle for barely 12 months of solar, and that's putting all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to do that again. Nobody should ever do that again.
Well, but like those molten salt reactors, right, didn't actually depend on solar energy, right? They actually had reflective panels that light
they were mirrors,
point.
Yeah, they were
and
mirrors.
They used the molten
PV.
salt in order to regulate the heat, right? But they used the classic method of turning that heat into boiling water that could spin turbines, right? So it was less technologically dependent, but it required a large area to have enough reflectivity to cause that boiling.
Yeah, and it was way out in the desert.
Well, the molten salt is a battery, so it's called a molten salt battery, and it's a way to store heat over a 24-hour period when there's no sun up. So it performs the two functions of both collecting the solar energy through mirrors into the salt pile, and also being able to power a steam generator for 24 hours.
Well, the molten salt maintains heat, right? So I would argue against labeling it as a battery, but yes, it was a way to store energy as a means of heat.
A thermal battery would be accurate. I'm curious, though, the reason it failed, was it technological or monetary, or like it ran for a couple years?
It's maintenance, and if you've seen pictures of the mirrors, like they get out of alignment. I understand that there are problems with bird migrations, where you're just basically shooting birds out of the sky with a giant laser.
Yeah, either cooking them or they're dropping droppings on your mirrors. So
similar to like the windmill phenomenon.
Yeah,
maybe, yeah. And then FAA with planes flying overhead, they had to avoid the area. I don't know exactly what the mitigating factors were for them to come down. If it was just, a money sink or what other technological issues there were, but there were a host of them.
Probably, like you said,
because the reflective panels had to be motorized and actually point themselves at the central pillar, and if they weren't maintained properly, right, you could get weird focus points.
Yeah, you got to clean them. And then you got to, maintain the motors. So it's probably more expensive than they thought it would be to run it.
That's the power of the sun.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. You got to collect it, but you got to collect it wisely, and you got to be able to afford to keep doing it. That's what's cool about PV and the windmills, is there's a lot less that goes into them than some of the other techs that we're doing, like drilling and burning the fossilized solar.
Well, and the biggest thing that I kind of miss about like the windmill kind of stuff is that the higher elevation you get, the less interference you have with the land and the more wind you can capture. And I'm really surprised that like sailing turbines that can actually gain elevation haven't been adopted more. Because they may be more mechanically complex, but they can produce like 5 times or 10x the amount of power.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
In like a quarter of the size, but it does pose a risk to things that are in the air.
It does, yeah. But they were doing these trials a couple of years ago where they had these kites, and they would have them like robotically controlled, and they would attach them to the hard points on like cargo ships or oil tankers to get some of that benefit that we used to have when everything was sail driven, and they would report something like 50%. I don't know the exact number. It was just some massive number of percent fuel savings from this robotic kite that was just dragging the ship along on its hard point. And I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that. I mean, yeah, it is. You got to have somebody who knows how to deal with sails on board, and you got to have a robotics engineer, and you got to deal with the the materials to tie the thing back to the ship. But
or even like transferring kinetic energy from like waves,
yeah.
right? There's been platforms that can even just use wave energy to cause kinetic energy that they could get energy from, right?
Yeah.
But I guess the biggest complexity was they were still in salt water.
Yes.
So it ended up corroding.
Something like that, yeah.
But man, wave power has been really interesting to me, right? Because
Yes.
like the waves might increase or lessen, but they never actually stop. There's constant motion in the sea.
Yes.
And but I think that again is a distance problem. And like, how do you even have it offshore and then efficiently transfer something back to the shore is probably what shut that down.
You hit the car with what?
With biscuit.
With a biscuit?
Yeah, and I was want to go fly my biscuit.
Frisbee?
Yeah, I play biscuit.
Frisbee?
It will go down and hit the car,
All right, well-
and I would get fly, and I would one fly and get it.
Okay, well, watch where you're going. Don't go in the street, and try not to hit the car or anybody else's car with the frisbee, okay?
You play the street, hit your car.
That's what she said.
Yeah, and then you're done.
Oh, then you stopped.
Yeah. No, frisbees, Coriolis effect, right?
Yeah.
They kind of fly on their own.
They do. Especially if you add any breeze to it as well. Oh. Hopefully it's not a dent, because I don't want to have to figure out how to get an aluminum rated dent guy. 8 years with no dents. So this next one, Slate poaches key Tesla manufacturing leader to build its electric pickup trucks. Let's see who they got. So Slate is backed by Jeff Bezos, among others, and Napoleon Reese is a U.S. Marine from Indiana who got a degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue after leaving the force. He then worked for a few years at Subaru and Wabdash before joining Tesla's manufacturing team at Fremont in 2020. Okay, good on them.
I'm sorry, you said something about Jeff Bezos and I didn't hear the other word.
Oh,
you
Slate.
didn't say slaves, did you?
SLATE, Slate Automotive. Yeah,
Gotcha.
hopefully he's not continuing what he's been accused of. Top comment: poaching talent is a smart business move to help accelerate quality manufacturing. Yeah. So this one here, the Rivian R2 truck could happen. It's another one from their interview with the CEO, RJ Scaringe. Like I said earlier, I think that a Maverick-sized truck as an EV would be a good idea for whoever does it first, and second and third, maybe even fourth. But yeah, they've got an opportunity, and hopefully they've got the resources in the company to make that happen. I'd like to see more players survive.
I'm just waiting for more graphene lattice-based batteries that can accept faster charging so they can actually reduce weight and get more efficiency.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm curious what techniques they've had come up to increase their output with graphene. It's very promising material.
Well, I think the speed of recharge and discharge, Elon has a patent on that.
Oh, really?
And so he's made, it's a your conventional lithium battery cells have a single tab on the entire roll of. I don't know if you know how a battery is manufactured, but you have your substrate and your anode cathode, thin material membranes, and it's rolled up.
Yep.
But they would only have a
plastic
single.
packing. Yeah,
They would only have a single electrode on the entire roll, so your current had to roll through the entire, cinnamon bun of film. Elon created a multi-tab system and a process for welding them that was patentable. So he's the only one to market that has it, and it can do extremely high-speed charging and discharging with that technology, because it's got like 18 tabs instead of one.
Yeah. He called it tabless, but it's really just a unitab.
Yeah,
or mega tab.
But there's also a hidden physics limitation about the matter that makes up the battery, and that the battery can still degrade faster with higher charging. So even if you have multiple tabs or multiple interfaces, right?
Yeah.
There is still a degradation he couldn't get past off of speed charging.
Yeah.
So there.
You are correct. Like even Samsung, LG batteries, you can always buy high current, like 30, 40 amps, but they have a very short shelf life and functioning mechanical life. And then you've got low discharge, which are like 1.5 amps, but those can hold a charge for like 10 years, and they might last 20 or 30 years in actual applications. So there is a trade-off between discharge and its mechanical properties, how they manufacture that battery. But I think going forward, like the only way to get around that is, like you said, another chemistry. I don't know what that's going to be. I did hear rumors, and I think I mentioned it last time I was in here, about a lithium or a aluminum ion battery, which gets rid of the lithium and cobalt. But I don't know where we're at with that. But I think that's something Tesla's working on.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about.
Or you could establish better recycling procedures, right? Because the matter involved just gets unstable in the lattice of the battery structure. But if you could actually establish a recycling standard, that material isn't necessarily worthless.
Right.
You just need to convert that same material into a net new stable infrastructure that doesn't require more rare earth if you've already got it.
Right.
So a recycling process could actually break that cycle. But again, it's recycling, and I know Elon is focused on it, and that's one of his goals. But it's still cheaper to manufacture net new cells rather than break down the old components.
Yeah, that's the moment it is. Yeah. But the other thing we learned, though, is that the recycled cells, for some reason, they just perform better. And I mean, obviously, there's the re-refining of them, but I don't know that covers all of the percentage increase they saw in durability and life cycle and everything. But if they could better understand that phenomenon as well, it'd probably also apply to the new stuff as well. That'll be interesting to see when we've got enough that they can run more than just Redwood and their competitor. Right now, they've got two companies that are running at scale with this, but I'd like to see more competition in EV recycling, or EV battery recycling. We're going to want to have.
And Redwood is the company that they have actually focused their recycling efforts on, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm just amazed to hear the name, because I was actually trying to listen to their CEO's keynote speeches.
David Trouble?
But thanks.
Yeah, definitely. JB is a smart cookie, and I'd like to see them succeed as well. I just like to see competition. That way, we don't get screwed as the end buyers of these things, having just two suppliers. I don't mind having one or two really big ones, but I also like to see that we're paying a fair price. But at the moment,
Well, and I would like to see more American engineering, more American production of these things, and
yes.
more modernized, vocational and trade schools that teach modern manufacturing, whether it's chipsets, whether it's batteries. I mean, we sold all of our manufacturing to,
everywhere
Asia
else.
since the 1980s through today. So, like the last 40 years, we've forgotten how to do anything, and people are thinking trade schools of vocation.
Yeah.
It's like, who needs TV repairmen? It's like, we don't. We
Throw it
need
away
people
by
who
anyone,
can
yeah.
actually make microchips.
Yeah. That's another point right there, though, is when you look at the TVs and solar panels are basically the same thing in reverse from each other. One, you put in power and you get light out, and the other, you put light in and you get power out. And then if you reverse on the same one, you get a little bit of the other effect. So like a TV will produce a little bit of power when you put light on it, and a solar panel will produce a little bit of light, a little bit of infrared if you run power through it before it burns up and dies. So.
Right, you can use an LED as a solar panel.
Yeah.
It's just not as efficient until we figure that out.
Right.
We can make it two-way.
But that also gives whoever makes one or the other a leg up in the other industry. So that might be worth looking into for some of them as whenever we stop making it like in this weird cycle we're in. Like we make it so that we get bring solar panels back to America, and we do, and we get these innovations that we do to them, and then we're like, dash them and sell them overseas, and then we do, and they're like, why don't we make them here? It's like, we did until 6 years ago. Well, this and that. So, can we just like?
Well, it's such a bizarre thing. Like,
yeah.
The Industrial Revolution started somewhere in like the 1920s, and it went on through 1970s and 80s. So you're talking a good 80 or 60 years of an industry in America where like we made our own things. It wasn't until like the last 40 years that we turned China from a third world country to a first world nuclear power threatening to annihilate us all.
Yeah.
It's like we made a big mistake.
We did. I'm not saying anything bad for them, but yeah, we did make mistakes for us that we should not have done.
It was also linked to kind of a human cost of industrialization that our civilization didn't want to accept.
Yeah.
So too, right? And that's one of the things that I think people forget is that, like, the standard of living that China had to adopt to be a manufacturing competitor actually sacrificed their population.
Yeah.
Right. And they were willing to do that where the U.S. wasn't. Right. So I'm not saying it's like a perfect situation, but it's not like those people are necessarily happy.
Right. And it's only just now that they're starting to enjoy the kind of luxuries that we've had, where they all have running water and all have electricity and HVAC and everything in their facilities. And that's very recent that you can look over to places like China and other places that we've used as just labor sinks like that in the past. They've just now started to more universally enjoy the kind of modern life that we have here. Like you said, it was horrific in the past. Go ahead.
The ecology of economics is just, when you send the jobs overseas, and we enabled China to become great, and that's great for those people that benefited. But like at the same time, we're not making the dishwashers and microwaves that we used to, and so people are out of jobs.
Yes.
And
well, I mean, it used to be that that you could
the whole ecology.
You can
can't buy a house anymore.
Right. You can do a single income in the factory, work in the same factory for 26, 30 years, retire. You've bought yourself a house, 2 cars, put all your kids through school. We made some changes politically and financially, like you said, a couple of years ago, and that set us on this path of like nobody anywhere in the world being able to afford anything anymore, and nobody in the world making anything except for a few hotspot countries, to the point where China is China-ing other countries now. Like they're starting to not make it all there anymore. They're moving it to like they're trying to go to Africa and other parts of Asia. It's like, you guys, you sure you want to do that? We did it, and look what happened.
You can still buy a Whirlpool washer dryer set. I know that, and in Trump's first administration, he put tariffs on China on washers and dryers specifically, so that Whirlpool of America could continue operating.
I
and they
read
still make washers and dryers that last 20, 30 years. So I just hope to see more of that come back, and we need more people to lead that. And I'm glad to see, like, we've got a contract I think Elon made with Samsung to spin up manufacturing in America. We've got NVIDIA and their chip brand partners to spin up fab in America, again through Elon. I wish there were other people. Like, where the fuck is Bezos? What's he doing?
Sailing the world,
You know,
getting
he
married.
owns AWS. He owns AWS, which runs the internet. But where's all the chips being made?
They're all imported.
But man, sorry, I know this might be kind of random, man, but even Kevlar was seen as a stable material.
Yeah.
That was initially used for belts in washing machines.
Yeah.
And only after the Kevlar-based belts actually didn't wear out as fast as any other type of rubber, did they actually start to understand the intrinsic properties of Kevlar that actually allowed it to be used for
protection,
body armor.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So like Kevlar was actually discovered with its stability in washing machines.
Nice.
It's kind of one of these weird things that technology kind of exposes.
Right.
Right.
You got these people who just R&D all day, and they're like, "Hey, we figured out why this thing works. Really? Tell us." Oh, wow, we can make protection with that. Yeah. And we need more R&D. We need more, like you said, people working with their hands. We need to do stuff here, and we signed it all the way for quarterly profits, and we need to reel some of that back in. Like we saw, I was listening to a story on the washing machine tariffs, and there was a place nearby this place, was it Newberry, South Carolina? They were making heavy equipment, and that company pulled out, and Samsung pulled in because they wanted to not have tariffs on their washing machines, and so they started building washing machines here. And the city manager was talking about how his whole job was to bring business to the county. And then the reporter did ask near the end of the interview about how, it was good that they were revitalized and they finally had jobs coming in the county again. They said, well, the tariffs were only on washing machines. Why did everybody's dryers go up? And how come you guys aren't taking advantage of your lower costs to gain more market share by selling your product for lower price with the higher capabilities, higher quality? And the executive's answer was, they weren't interviewing the executive, so it was the city manager acknowledging the point of the reporter that people buy washer and dryers as a pair. So when the washers got more expensive for the tariff, they raised the price on the dryers, and then he couldn't even fathom as to why Samsung wasn't taking advantage of their new position by having less input costs to gain more market share. It was the classic, like, oh, well, we're making the profit we expect to make. We're good, rather than make the previous profit and gain more market share for when everybody else figures it out. You'll be ahead, already having an installed customer base that loves you. So the greed is good of the 80s really messed us up. Worldwide.
Yeah, and I can't fault a company because, like, by definition, a company is there to make profit.
Yeah.
And, like, if they don't, they're violating the law. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a publicly traded company, your first and foremost job is to make your investors and your stockholders money. Because if you don't, then you'll be sued and you'll lose your mansion and become homeless.
Exactly.
But there is a grave, not only a need but demand for manufacturing jobs in America, and people who are going to pick that up and spin up, and it's going to take a great amount of money to spin everything back up that we lost.
Yes.
But I feel like as American companies had innovated in the past and iterated very quickly in technology, like with solar panels,
Yes.
like, okay, we got functioning solar panels coming out of China, and like that's all we need.
Right.
And we don't need to make them better. We don't need to make them more efficient and
That mindset, yeah.
iterate the technology. Their mindset was like, ship it and keep making money with what we've got. We've got a system, and as long as there's no competition, that's fine.
Yeah. Kind of like Exxon with the
something
with
like
the
I feel
NAND
like
batteries.
Right. I just feel that if solar panels were made in America this whole time, that we'd already be like banger with efficiency per square foot and priced to where it's not only more economical but efficient and longer lasting, and we're not just playing these very fine margins of is it even worth getting solar in the first place because the panels are going to burn out in 20 years and I'll barely pay off the loan in 20 years and I'll just break even.
Yeah, the same thing we saw with lithium iron phosphate. I talked about that last week, where we had it and we gave it away, and then somebody else made it better, and now we're having to buy it back. Go ahead, Unknown.
Man, I'm sorry. You stated a lot, but I can't help but that competition clause that you actually have to benefit your shareholders. That was actually something that happened in a court lawsuit within like the last 7 years, maybe.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it was actually between soda pop companies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where there was some soda company that was like, oh no, we're going to sacrifice profit in order to pay our workers. And then they actually got sued by a competitor.
What?
And the competitor actually won because they proved that there was no profit to be gained by honoring their employees. So there was actually a competitor that sued a company for trying to pay its workers. Can you add to that?
Wow.
I hadn't heard the story, but that does make legal precedent sense.
It does,
what you described, and I'm not saying that it's entirely sane. And if there's no losses that you can ascribe to paying your employees better, I can't necessarily see that winning in court. But yeah, if you are doing your investors and stockholders a disservice, you can be sued for that.
Absolutely. But I think
right.
Probably was,
and that. Sorry for interrupting again. Yeah. I'll try and shut up. But that is the risk of being a publicly traded company, because now you're beholden to the stockholders and the board, not the people that actually work at your company.
That's right. Although it does work the other way around if you're a company-owned company, where you have to do what the employees want all the time too. But I can see that. Like, and I wonder if that's why.
That's why there's a value in ensuring that your employees actually get invested in the company, to make sure that the employees still have a say in the proper course for the company.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they can fend off any not only weasels, but just grave digger, gold diggers.
Well, that's where you see Elon has all these companies, and the only publicly traded company is Tesla, and he kind of regrets that. But also, like, he's got a lot of employees at Tesla, and I don't remember what the limit is or if he's crossed it, but like the law says, if you have so many employees, maybe it's 250,000 or something, that you have to go public. Like, you're compelled to go public.
I think with them though, it was a matter of
ridiculous.
It was public when he bought in and then helped launch the thing the way it is we know it today. He just never fought to change it. It's too late now, but well, not really too late, but it's too expensive now to change it because they've got other things they want to spend the money on. I do wonder.
But
like,
it is screwy, like
it is.
That as you get more employees, that the government compels you to go public, and that is kind of a disservice to the employees because now they're not beholden to the employees; they're beholden to the investors, which aren't necessarily the employees, because most employees who are offered a package for investment either can't afford to take it or just rather see the cash.
Yeah.
And so you end up in these weird situations.
I'm curious. Somebody's probably done a study on that.
But I think there was also some advantage because Elon was now representing a public company.
Yes.
And when he was privately executed as an individual, right, there was kind of a double-edged sword there because he was seen as a main contributor to the success of the company.
Yeah.
But they couldn't necessarily execute him, right, because the company still remains separate.
I see what you're saying, like because they're mad at him,
know.
like the European situation in England. Like they don't want to do the headline. I didn't read the article. They said they wanted to do that, but they won't because of Elon. But with being a public company, you can't really necessarily make that call, like as a government here in the States anyway, because it's public and not private. That's a good point too.
So even if they could have taken down Elon, right, they couldn't have eliminated the competition, which was what they were really angry about.
Yeah.
That may be a personal opinion, but that's one of the things that I'm really actually worried about. Like if I do something that's successful, should I try and maintain it as a private company? Should I try and maintain it as a public company?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just maintain full control under my own ownership, but then that means it's really vulnerable to outside tactics to where I could be sued through like an individual violation, and that could take down a whole company if it was under private ownership.
Yeah. I do also wonder though if that's why you'll see them call out like Tesla service is supposed to not be a profit center, and a couple of other companies have public statements to how this and that isn't where they're making their money. I wonder if that's the guard against that particular type of lawsuit because the investors knew this going in and they were trying to make the money elsewhere.
Well, and to kind of open that point, right, there was a problem with Tesla actually being able to present dealerships and local representation, right? And that's why they wanted to bring Tesla into the fold of being like a modern auto company, even though they were selling electric vehicles, right? And I don't know, that got really complex.
It did. And hopefully that will resolve itself soon enough because it's ridiculous the amount of places they can't sell and service the vehicles. Like, especially like even Texas, still to this day, they've had all these special sessions and they've never once voted on the factory there, even though their governor has hitched his ride up to Elon, and every chance he gets, he's over there trying to soak in the limelight. But yet, all these special votes he's called, he's never called in one saying, hey, let's make it so they can legally sell and service the cars here because they are so important that I have to keep getting on TV about them. How important are they if you can't vote to make them legal?
But that would make them an auto manufacturer.
Yeah.
And subject to all the laws of the classic limitations of auto manufacturers. So I'm actually not
they've got
too
that now,
surprised
though.
that hasn't happened because they've wanted to stay separate without the same limitations that have been built up over the decades, right?
Right. I'm not saying force them to
be
use
considered
dealerships. I'm saying just let them be legal to buy and sell there. Like in Michigan, I think it's still not legal to sell them there. South Carolina, South Dakota, and South Carolina and South Dakota is not legal to service them here, but yet they can do certain stuff with mobile tax. Like they've got a service center in Columbia that can't do a lot of the stuff you'd expect to actually be serviced. because it's not legal, which is wild. But they don't have a plant here, so it's not as messed up as Texas, where they've got one of their largest plants, and yet they still have to do all of these tricks and schemes to get you to buy the car and service the car in the place where it was built. And so what I find to be just so weird is the governor is like, oh, they're so important to us. I'm like, well, if they're so important, how come they've been up for a vote since 2012 and you've never voted? Here we are, 2025. Like, oh, we're done. Oh, what about, is this the year? No, not this year. But
Well, and I, sorry, just don't forget, oversight is costly.
it is,
right?
Yeah.
And it limits your ability to evolve and develop your products,
yeah.
right? So I just try and consider that there is probably some effort not to be linked as a classic auto company, so that they don't have to go through as many regulations.
But they have
Could
to
be one of the
But they have to meet them all because they are legal in California, and so they have to meet them all. But I think I still maintain this, that if somehow they were to make it so you couldn't collect any of the taxes and fees at the state level on these things, unless it was legal to buy and sell them there, that would resolve itself within one legislative cycle in every state. Because it's a bit ridiculous that they can block them, like in the South, the two South named states. You got to take trips for hours to go pick up your car, and then hours to go get it serviced if it's something they can't do with a mobile technician. But yet they can both claim the tax money and then any annual VIG that they want to count against all cars. But yet, as a customer, they can't stop you from buying and selling it or servicing it elsewhere and then bringing it in because of the Interstate Commerce Clause, but they can not give them certificates to sell in their particular state, which is what they've done. And one of them is pretty bad, like Michigan, for instance. I don't know if they still are illegal there, but it was to the point that they had actually bought into the state retirement with it. It's like, all right, so this is so illegal that you can't sell them here, but it's so profitable that you do need to invest in it for your retirement plan. Come on, folks. Something's not right. And it wasn't Ford and Chevy because they can't sell direct at all. It was the dealerships that were yanking them around. I don't know.
So I want to issue a correction. Apparently, I'm blowing smoke about the compulsion of going public if you have too many employees.
There's something that does it, but I don't know if it's
a lot of-
employees. Go ahead. What is it? Say?
There's weird financial reasons that after 2,000 or 5,000 employees, it makes more sense to go public.
Mm-hmm.
I can't exactly find why, though. It's something about shareholders and burdens.
I wonder if it's like reporting, or maybe the employee plan. Maybe just having that many makes it easier to just go public.
Right. There seem to be pressures to go public.
Yeah, there you go.
after a
Pressures is
certain
probably
threshold,
a more accurate word. Pressures.
But I don't know what they exactly are.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you
So
can keep doing
I
that.
thought it was actually legislated, but I guess it's not.
Yeah.
Well, so like Twitter was actually publicly traded. It transitioned into a private company asset when Elon bought X, but X is still private.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah, because
Elon bought it and went private with it.
He did. I had a couple shares just I bought for fun because I liked using the product. And one morning I opened up my my brokerage account and they're like, "Here's your money back. Elon doesn't want your money. He doesn't want your say." Like, oh,
But he
thanks.
paid you good for it. Like,
Not from where I got in, but yeah. Other people who got in at better places, they got nicely paid for it.
Man, I still remember, like, even the the public shares were around like 134
And he paid way more than he should have for him. Yeah.
right before the private deal went through for like 144 or something. So like, I know you may not have made too much profit, but as far as I understand, the public share was actually lower than the private sellout price. So anybody who actually owned a share and bought it even like a day before it was taken off sale still made at least like a few percentage points of profit.
Yeah, I didn't lose money on it.
A private company.
Yeah, I didn't lose money on it. I think it was so little that it washed with the fee, but I didn't lose money on it. So I do appreciate that, because there have been cases where it's like, hey, I like this thing, let me buy a share or two, and then something happens. It's like, oh, it's all gone.
I'm just laughing because I felt like that was the most potent stock tip I ever gave anybody, was like, hey, no, this is still publicly traded at a lower rate, and the private buyout is still higher.
Yeah.
So
easy money.
That was a really unique situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I mean, it was a hostile takeover. He paid $44 billion, but it was only evaluated right after at 30. I think today it's still $33 billion.
Yeah. He says more, but
he
I think
did
it's still
throw
lower.
away a lot of money.
He did, yeah.
But I still laugh, right? Because it gave him access to like open human communications, which was what he really needed in order to develop AI.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's funny you
and he
mentioned
kind
that.
of spawned off XAI. I don't know.
And it's so funny that as a free speech platform, as he claimed it was going to be, we're still playing dancing on eggshells with what
Phrasing.
words we use.
Yeah.
And we're inventing phrasing like unalived and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
That like eventually the AI that learns from it's going to speak stupid gibberish because it's dancing on eggshells to come up with fake words that nobody uses in their daily lexicon.
For two reasons. One, because the users are, and two, because it is getting censored as well.
But you still remember the lawsuit that the government filed against him that was actually exponential growth fine, though, too.
Oh, the one in Russia.
Right?
Yeah,
he
that
didn't respond to government requests that actually surpassed like the net worth of like even Pakistan.
Yeah, because there was the Russia one that was like more money than
New
exists in the
York
world.
that he was facing.
Yeah.
So man, because like literally, that was like 20 times or even more of his net worth when he actually closed down the argument and then tried to like bring it back. But I don't know. It was like Alex Jones level of lawsuit kind of bullshit he was facing.
Well, he's still going through a lot of lawsuits. Even today, the French government, after Donald Trump smacked down the EU lawsuit from 2023 till this few months ago, he said, yeah, we're going to double your tariffs if you don't leave Elon alone. This was after they had their lovers quarrel, by the way. Didn't really make mainstream news, but he smacked down the European Union. They dropped their lawsuit against Elon, saying that he owed them like $6 billion for not disclosing the X platform algorithms. So the French government just 3 or 4 weeks ago filed a continuation lawsuit demanding the X algorithm, and so Trump's going to have to smack them down too. It's a whole bunch of stupid. But yeah, I think it's just hilarious that we're training AI on these algorithm and encouraged, induced speech that isn't like free speech, but people who want to maintain monetization aren't going to use certain words, and other words are promoted. So you'll have like Grok will one day tell us that Kurt Cobain unalived himself because he was a retard.
And he's giving you
allowed
up.
to say suicide, otherwise
like, what? Giving you what?
you're not allowed to say suicide because suicide might get you deranked, but retard will get you pro-ranked.
It could do that. So I'm looking at this comment on the article for Fort Polk goes green, 97 acres of solar to power U.S. Army housing, and the comment was I liked it. So Grant says the U.S. military understands the importance of energy independence from a local source. They must know something the rest of America doesn't. So our friend Dan was telling us about some of the portable solar trials they ran in the Army, and I was pointing out the big roll of thin film solar that they can deploy from a truck when they get to a forward base. One, you're not giving your position away with the sounds, because you're not if you're running all plugins, then they can't really hear you, and they can't really smell you because you're not just burning fumes. It gives you a little bit of tactical element of surprise. In addition to, now you're not wasting any of your deployments on bringing in fuel. They're bringing in just munitions, food, and other supplies you need. And why not do the same thing at home on your barracks, basically, and get energy that you don't have to pay for. I mean, you got to pay to get them installed, but once they're installed, as long as you're within your calculations. And another good point is the batteries and solar degradation. As long as you have enough overhead for that, it's operationally, it stops you from being a victim of somebody who wants more money, or when you're out and about, either being detected or, again, being taken advantage of overseas where you have no control of that sort of thing.
Really have to run the numbers, because I still feel like the caloric value of gasoline and kerosene, especially, very dense. Versus even thin film solar, it feels like there's still going to be a time element to breaking even with the cargo and the weight of the thin film that you're toting around. I feel like it would have to be months or years before you break even, just because of the high caloric value of diesel fuel.
But they can also get the new tech. They don't have to get the consumer stuff, because they can overpay for anything. They can have the NASA solar.
And I'm sorry, but I would actually go back to tanks, right? Like even the M1 Abrams, right? It doesn't have a classic engine. It actually has a turbine, which is a similar component to like helicopters and jets, where it actually consumes more fuel for more power on demand. And that's really what the military needs, is power on demand, not storage.
Yeah.
Right? Like the military's job is like 99.9% doing nothing. But when they have to react, they need that highest kind of, like what you said, that caloric input, right? They need that energy on demand, but they don't need it very often.
Yeah.
Right? So they're mostly on standby. But when they need that power, they need it on demand.
Yeah, and everything at that base that they talk about is always plug-in hybrid. It's very rarely pure electric, or obviously it can't be pure diesel, otherwise it doesn't meet what they were talking about. But they're rolling in the trucks with the film solar and everything. But one of them, not just all of them having their own engines on board anyway, but one of them is bringing a classic turbine generator that they'll bring. So like I said, the hope is that they hope to not have to turn it on, but it's ready if they need, if the situation changes. It's like you said, their mission is to be ready.
And they still trust diesel more than gasoline, because diesel operates at different temperature parameters, right?
Yes, diesel and jet fuel.
Can actually use.
It's not as likely to go kablooey, but also it's heavier fuel and, like I said, higher caloric value than gasoline.
Yeah, because it's less refined.
But once we can start launching SpaceX, Starship with solar panels, then that we're good.
Yeah. Be there in 90 minutes, boss. Call in a strike.
Well, yeah, but then you've also got kind of a ballistic system that could be shot down.
Yeah.
That actually still has some fuel. So, like, I it'd be awesome to be able to transport to a nearby secured facility, but if the airspace is at risk, that would be a mistake.
Well, they've got two proposals they were running with militarizing Starship. They were going to like buy them where they could take the whole ship and if it demises, then oh well. But also they were looking at airdrop, where instead of being ballistic, it would be it'd be over once it's over the target, precision guidance. We're going to drop this 20 pallets, and the pallets will be just like the guided bombs. Just guide the pallet to the drop, and so that way, they can shoot down the individual items, but they didn't get the ship because it was never not orbital.
Well, yeah, but you've also got the classic situation of kinetic bombardment from space, where if you can actually launch tungsten-based super dense materials that can survive reentry, right? You can actually have tungsten rods that are almost equivalent to small-scale nuclear weapons because they can survive reentry and impact the Earth, and then react with what they impacted, but actually survive reentry. So I actually think like that SpaceX distribution is kind of like a distraction, because really what they need is to put mass into orbit, but have that mass survive reentry for kinetic strikes.
Yeah, and because it's not...
the rods from God is a really interesting idea. It's just been shown to be impractical.
Well, it wasn't
anyway.
affordable back in the day, but now whenever Starship is
right, because now you've got over 100x reduction in cost of pound of payload.
Yeah.
That right, like Falcon is like 49x reduced cost, and then like Starship is going to be over 100, but it's still an unproven platform.
Yeah.
Right. But rods from God, man, props, because that is exactly the theory I was talking about.
Yeah. I'm curious if today goes well. I wonder if that will be, because it seems to me less of a risk to just do drop pods than to bring the ship to the battlefield. For so many reasons.
There's no dropping from orbit. You have to deorbit, and that takes a heck of a lot of energy to deorbit.
Today, yeah, but I mean,
even
if you just kick a
like,
pod out of the cargo bay, but don't give it maybe give it a little retro push or something, and the calculations will be difficult, but I think it's simple computers still do it.
Those high altitude orbits, it's a lot of energy for the low orbit satellites in Starlink. We figured out how to deorbit, and it still takes weeks and months to deorbit using the small ion boosters.
Yeah, using the ion boosters, yeah.
But to get a rod from God on target in 20 minutes, it's a lot of energy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and that's where even the refueling capabilities of a Starship, right? Like imagine a Starship that can actually go full bore and expend all of its fuel payload and then release its payload like after it actually passes the thermosphere barrier. I don't know. Kinetic energy is something I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Like once you survive atmospheric reentry, but even that, even if you could actually insert something like some Space Force troopers, right? Like it'd be hard to keep them in condition while orbiting, right?
Yes.
But they could potentially reach any area on Earth if they were distributed.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of difficulty there, but actually being able to put quote unquote boots on the ground within 90 minutes across the entire Earth, that changes the landscape of warfare.
Yeah, like if they do LEO right now, like if ISS was military instead of science, like they could get most anywhere within 90 minutes. And I don't know, with the ability to just launch Starship, like you said, ballistic, same thing, 90 minutes from Florida or Texas, and it's done. I mean, look at how quickly they reach the
Australia,
Indian
that's what they're
Ocean.
talking about, right?
Hmm?
He was talking about using Starship to get a 90-minute flight from America to Australia.
Oh, you were talking
Computer.
ballistic. Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. I
Yeah,
was picturing, for some reason, I was
Elon's,
picturing them like up
future
in
plans.
like little mini ISSs and ready to just drop from there.
Oh no, it's Starship.
Because you can do that from a pod as well, like service it with Starship. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I expanded it to you could actually have a Space Force in orbit that only had to go from space to ground, right? But
Yeah.
the government contracts are only about transporting from land to another piece of land. That
Yeah.
is correct.
That would actually be something unique there, because then the Space Force, the joke about what are you gonna do? You're gonna get your space wings, would be real. Yeah, we're astronaut soldiers.
I think it's such a bastardization of the word astronaut. When you got people like Bezos calling
Everybody on Shepard.
everybody an astronaut because they took a little flight. They didn't even leave state lines. They never left New Mexico, and
They barely crossed the Kármán line.
it's like you're talking about Mercury project. Flights that when everybody else is thinking, orbital flights, and we just need to learn how to ridicule and scorn anything that's suborbital, and calling people astronauts, even if they do pass the Kármán line. You have to be up there for at least like a day and a half or something. 11 hours, I think, was the shortest Apollo mission.
But remind me what the Kármán line is. Is that like a section of reduced gravity, or is that when you leave the atmosphere? Like, I know that's kind of
the traditional
the
delineation
classic definition for astronauts, and Bezos's ship doesn't even pass the Kármán line. But can you remind us all of what the Kármán line actually is?
It does pass the Kármán line apparently, but briefly.
Barely.
But I would say that that Red Bull guy who took a hot air balloon above the Kármán line, and then skydived, because he was up there for hours and hours. But Bezos is only up there for like 20 or 40 minutes.
Right, but even the Kármán line is still within our atmosphere, though, right?
All right, so it's internationally recognized boundary of space that has 100 kilometers or 62 miles above sea level. Past that point, the air is too thin for airplanes to fly because their wings can't generate enough lift. Instead, you'd have to travel like a spacecraft using rockets. It's basically the official edge where Earth's sky ends and outer space begins. There's those debate. For example, the U.S. sometimes uses 80 kilometers instead, but 100 kilometers is the classic line used by scientists, agencies, and most of the world. So basically, it's just the accepted definition of, hey, you're in space, even though, like you said, there's still some atmosphere there. It's just not enough you can use lift to control your flying device.
But I also think the biggest thing is that you've never even reached orbital velocities in Bezos' craft versus the private craft that we have already. Elon's done private. He did a private polar orbit with a bunch of Russian, I think, not Russian.
No, he did
Eastern European group.
Talking about Polaris Dawn, or you're talking about because SpaceX does a couple different ones. They got the Axios missions. They've got the Polaris, and all the other.
Which one was the 4 crew? I only remember the one private flight with the 4 crew, and they went over and the polar orbit. So lots of nice video of Antarctica and Arctica and the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. They've done a couple.
That was the only.
But there's even commercial flights that go over the pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a commercial flight.
Yeah. Unless that was the difference. One was commercial and one was not. But they Isaacson, Jared Isaacson, on Polaris Dawn, and also what was the other one? He's done most of them for St. Jude. Yeah. And then Axios is.
But they were
different.
orbital velocities. They were up there for days,
Yeah.
not minutes. And that's the big difference. Like you got.
Well, you say
people
minutes,
that
but
are
like
just
a minute.
like how long was Bezos's?
I think the whole thing is like
when you had Captain Kirk,
yeah.
and then you had the four girls up there.
I think the whole thing is like 15.
No, you're not.
I think the whole thing is like 10 minutes. So maybe you're like 3 hours, waiting for the thing to fuel up and go.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And so it really is a crime against linguistics.
But it is technically correct, the best kind of correct.
Man, so rather than the atmosphere, shouldn't we consider that once you actually have escaped the gravity well enough to where you have to expend energy to come back to Earth, wouldn't that actually be the dividing line between Earth and space? Technically, right? And sorry, I end up being kind of a tech, but
then what if we ever do figure out how to handle the space
the
elevator?
fact that aerial effects don't affect wings doesn't mean that you left the Earth. That just means you're in a reduced atmosphere where things change.
Right.
But
yeah.
when you actually need to leave the Earth, you have to be able to escape the gravity well.
Yeah, but
So
I mean,
would say
like
that
if
the average couch surfer would consider an orbital velocity.
Yeah, most people would
such that when you are above the Kármán line, that you feel weightlessness because you are free falling beyond the Earth. Your fall is outside of is further in advance in the orbit. So you're in orbit,
but you're
and so that
actually
you are
still qualifying it as free falling rather than being in space and outside the effects of gravity.
In parlance of astrophysics, free fall is orbit.
But you've also got whenever we can get the technology and materials to do a space elevator, how will you consider the folks who reach the end of the tether? Are they astronauts? Have they gone to space?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That is so far out there, though.
For now, but like if we get that graphene head, then it's a lot closer than we think. So they're telling me it's almost time to take them to their errand. So I do want to thank everybody for coming today and having these wonderful discussions. I'd like to continue again next week. And I want to thank all of our channel members. Go ahead.
Say hi for me. They sound so cute.
Yes.
And thank them for allowing you to talk with us. Because man, that is a big tear.
It is.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us up, Kacey, and for distracting and your show and annoying your audience. My name is Star Soup, and I'll be here again sometime.
All right, we'll see you then. All right, everybody. I want to thank our channel members for your monetary contributions. I appreciate it. Anyone who's done the Buy Me a Coffee or the Ko-fi, it helps pay for the software and services that we use to bring this thing online. And I will catch you all next week. So here I go playing the outro. And catch you again on the Tesla Live show on Wednesday live. And then again back here, same time, same place next week. Thanks.